Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Wick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Gang, we've got a show for you today. We are going to be talking about right-wing cancel culture. Is that a real thing? After the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, I should say, of Charlie Kirk, some people went to Twitter to make jokes, and some even celebrated. A dox list was formed to call these people's places of residence, not places of residence, places of employment, and get them fired. Many celebrated getting people fired from their positions. Is this a form of cancel culture? Should people be fired for making jokes about Charlie Kirk? We got a great guest list here to talk about it. We're going to start off with Soy Pill, and we're just going to make our way around the room. Soy Pill, give us your thoughts, tell us who you are, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the Soy Pill. I do video essays about politics. In terms of people getting fired for celebrating the death or whatever, I'm very consistent on this. In the same way I argue that fascists should be fired or have the right to be fired. You can be fired for a lot of things. And if your boss doesn't want to associate with you because you are, I don't know, making a joke about a dead guy or saying really anything, they can fire you, like I always say, for having the wrong color shirt. That's fine. What's much more concerning is someone like Jimmy Kimmel getting taken off the air because of government pressure from the FCC. This is a hack on free speech, and now Trump is in Air Force One saying things like, I will take away their licenses, or they shouldn't have their licenses because 97% of the coverage against me is negative, or they're talking about me. So yeah, while I think that, getting fired is part of cancel culture and the same thing the right has been complaining about, it's just coming back to haunt us. But in terms of actual crackdown on free speech, that is a very big issue that's happening right now from the government. And I'm very worried about it and trying to spread the word. So.
Okay. Thank you for being here. We'll get into it as we go. Quibbles over coffee. Go ahead.
I believe 80% of what he just said. In terms of specifically Kimmel, I think it's a little crazy because I think there's a massive difference between Kimmel specifically in the context of ABC and something like CNN or Fox or Spotify. There's a long history of both left and right trying to make attacks on free speech. Certainly Elizabeth Warren has been guilty of it in the recent past. And I think that it's very different to do that when we're talking about a private company versus when we're talking about public airwaves. And particularly when we're talking about public airwaves, when there's only 3 of that particular kind in comparison to public airwaves of like radio kind, where there's thousands. But broadly, other than that, I agree.
Okay, I guess we'll get into it as we go. Next up, we have Confluence. Go ahead.
Okay, I would say no one is truly against cancel culture and censorship in any all-encompassing, no exceptions kind of way. This is similar to acknowledging that no reasonable person is a true free speech absolutist. Obviously, a proper functioning country needs to have some limits on speech, things like blackmail, insider trading threats, incitement to violence, etc. In the same way, no one is fully against censorship. While most pornography is legal, lascivious content involving minors is not, and perhaps only the most extreme ANCAP weirdos, hashtag not all ANCAPs, would want to remove those laws. Cancel culture is the same way. If in 1963, after the JFK assassination, some prominent employee openly celebrated his death, they would have been fired. Consequences on their own should not be considered cancel culture. Cancel culture is canceling people for heterodoxical political opinions, pitchy jokes, mild infractions, etc. I think the celebration of Kirk's death falls so far out of the Overton window and is so dangerous in causing stochastic terrorism as to merit cancellation. If we take an extremely myopic definition of cancel culture, then sure, it's cancel culture. But I argue there's a line, and that line has been blown over.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. Next up, we have Aircraft Sparky. Go ahead.
Hey, everyone. Formerly Aircraft Sparky, now just Jason, because, I'm just some guy. When it comes to the celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk, celebration of anyone is nothing but normalizing political violence. I'm not a fan of that. That is way over the line. That is far beyond acceptable. Anything that is considered unacceptable by society should be censored in some way or another. We saw this when Roseanne Barr referred to Valerie Jarrett, or did I say her name right? When she referred to an Obama official as a monkey. Okay, she was taken off the air, and she should have been. Okay, what she said was deplorable and unacceptable. I think when you look at Don Lemon, when he was kicked off of CNN for basically saying Nikki Haley was beyond her prime. I think that was actually a step too far. But when it comes to things like Jimmy Kimmel, I just refer to the FCC open airways policy. He kind of sat there and inferred that it was a MAGA person that did the killing. If he wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have cared. If you want to mock the death of Charlie Kirk, sure. But if you want to celebrate it, you want to try to normalize that kind of action. That's a hard, fast line, and I don't think anyone should support that.
Okay, thank you for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. Last but certainly not least, Logix, please.
What's up, y'all? Logix. Appreciate you for having me again, Wick. Do a social commentary debunking politics on my channel. So I basically generally I agree with a little bit of what everybody said. I think the cancel culture is something we've kind of just accepted, but it did stick with culture. And until it became government officials stepping in and the FCC and the president having his hand in on telling people what he wants to see and doesn't want to see on television, I think that's more of an issue that we need to address. If people end up getting fired because they display deplorable behavior and a job doesn't want to deal with them, then by no means, can I do anything about that? That's on them. But yeah, like I said, when we get the president telling us what he wants to see and what he doesn't want to see, I'm going to argue with you. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you for being here. Before I open it up to the floor, I'm kind of shocked that everyone here is okay with mobs of people calling up employers, right, and getting them fired. Is that, did I hear everyone's opening statement right, that you're okay with that?
No, I think it's just a result of something happened. I would never advocate for it.
I think it depends on what your job is, right? Like if your job is to be a plumber, I don't think that your opinions on the 2024 election are particularly relevant. But if your job is speech, then I think you should be able to be fired for speech for the same reason I think a plumber should be able to be fired because they're bad at plumbing, right?
Like whose
I
job
think
is
if you're a
speech?
nurse,
What do you mean?
I think if you're a nurse, I think if you're a teacher, I mean, there's all kinds of things that, no, I'm sorry. If someone who actually hates me for what I stand for, I don't want them anywhere near my health,
let's
my
stick with
food,
specifically
my children, things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's
so a nurse, a teacher is an example of something where you as a person is somewhat relevant to your job, right? So like I care that you are a good person when you are teaching my kids at some level, presumably, and I certainly care about your morals. I don't care really about the moral, other than like I want to make sure that the drywall is done correctly. I don't really give a shit about who you are as a person if you're doing my drywall, right? So do you think there's a moral reason ever to fire someone who's responsible for drywall because they said something shitty on Twitter?
if you don't like it and you're paying for them, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
how
not quite so asking
How do
whether
we
or
feel
not
about
you should be legally permitted. I'm asking whether or not you think it's like appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. If you do not agree, if someone says something that wildly offends you or anything like that, and you are paying them, you have no obligation to continue to pay them.
Okay, but what about when it comes down to like public pressure? Like even though I'm on this side of the argument, I was opposed to libs of TikTok. Do you remember when Thomas Crooks shot Trump in the ear? Libs of TikTok famously signal boosted a Home Depot worker who said like a mild thing like, oh, I wish you didn't miss. And then people went to the Home Depot and they filmed the minimum wage worker and they got her fired. And it's like, that's pressure from people. Home Depot wouldn't have fired her. That's because people are going out of their way to do it. That's a minimum wage employee who said something that was distasteful, but it's so minor.
I wish they didn't miss. That's normalizing political violence.
It is, but to me,
if
I guess
she
that's
said-
like,
Question whether that's a shitty thing
No,
to say.
so it
Yeah.
depends on degrees, right? So if Logix, like me and him, we're opposed ideologically. If he sits there and he says, I think Trump is an idiot. Cool story, bro. I'm not mad at him. Look, an opinion is one thing, but when you are trying to normalize something that is so egregious, okay, that's where the line is drawn. So the idea that MAGA, and I'm a Trump supporter, okay? The idea that MAGA wants people fired for a joke. No, most people are using their common sense on this. It is that line. What is that line for you? I can't tell you, but I know what it is for me. And when you're trying to normalize, if you're trying to glorify political violence, or even if you're gaslighting other people, like I really have some problems with calling ICE the Gestapo and things like that. I think there is, you're really towing a line there.
Should someone
You're
be fired
kind of
for that?
Advocating.
If I was in
I
a
think
if I was a
Gavin
teacher,
Newsom should actually be up for impeachment right now for his
because
statements.
Newsom is totally different than what we're talking about at the Home Depot. Newsom is a publicly elected
hold on, just real
figure,
quick.
and obviously, he's responsible for his speech.
Quibbles, please. Who here agrees with Aircraft Sparky that Newsom should be impeached for calling ICE the Gestapo?
No.
Okay, so
Newsom
standing
should be
alone. I'm
impeached
just
for a
curious.
lot of
I was
reasons,
really,
so.
really interested.
I
acting
dislike
like the Gestapo, he
Newsom, but
wouldn't
that's
call him
definitely
that.
not.
I mean,
that's not
Jason, it's
impeachable.
like where you say there's a line, but there's clearly no fine line. Even like when you said it's inciting political violence, if somebody said they wish he didn't miss, is political violence the only violence that matters? What if somebody like, oh, I got hit by somebody hit my car today, I wish I could fucking kill him, and you tell your manager that? Well, should you die for that? Or if you get on Instagram and vent in your I would kill them for hitting my car, like, look, should they now lose their job because they're so angry that they want to kill somebody that hit them?
So we put our face out there on the internet. Okay, we're actually doing something that a lot of people don't. If people are going to put themselves out there, if they're going to make themselves a public figure, they're responsible for the speech they make.
Yeah, but this was like a 40-year-old woman posting on like her Facebook page. Yeah, it was a random like.
Who cares?
I just can't help but even though I think all these Charlie Kirk celebrators should absolutely be fired. I fully believe that. For me, when it comes to the Home Depot, I'm just like, it's a throwaway comment. She probably didn't mean it. She works at Home Depot.
Wait, Jason, I'm sorry. Hold up. Someone puts something on Facebook and it goes viral. Do you think that's different than I choose to show up on like Piers Morgan, and because I'm on Piers Morgan, someone says, hey, that was a really shitty thing to say, which you knew full well was going to be seen by millions of people? Surely that's different, right?
So I don't think it's equivalent, but all the same, if you're going to put an opinion out there that is going to push that line, absolutely, I don't care.
Wait, but Jason,
it doesn't matter what your reach is, my man.
That lady probably didn't even know Facebook was public. Okay, she probably didn't even know.
Of course it matters. Of course it matters what the reach is, obviously, right? Like, surely you see a difference.
Man. No, I don't.
Right, but surely you see a difference in terms of intent when I say like, fuck blah blah blah, and I'm talking to the 12 people who follow me on Twitter, versus if I were having 400,000 followers on Twitter, right? Those are different things.
They're going to be different, but
it's irrelevant. If your boss wants to fire you for anything, they can do it. I think it's interesting that you, Jason, have a very specific line. I mean, it's like, oh, once it crosses here, now it's okay to go after them. I first of all, morally, I don't think you should be forming hate mobs against people for any amount of reason. I've seen people getting thrown into that like crazy doxing website for stupid shit. But legally, your boss, I think, should be able to fire you for just about anything that's not a civilly protected right. And the idea that it's like, well, you know, they're only talking to 12 people, it doesn't matter. Understanding the content of someone's character can reflect on how they're going to do that job. Like, you know, if we want to be real, Bill Clinton or Donald Trump being a rapist has no real impact on how they're going to do executive, duties, but it informs their character and then their decision making. And so, yeah, maybe your drywall guy saying, "Oh, I'm so happy Charlie Kirk died," is not going to affect how he does the drywall, but it might affect his decision making. It might affect your trust for that person in the same way people might, fire someone when they find out they're racist. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not going to affect this, but you might, especially when it comes to food, like Jason said, I don't trust that person anymore. It doesn't matter. Your boss should be free to not associate with that.
And
I think part of it is reasonable.
One thing that I'm amazed that we haven't touched on,
please, Jason, and then Quibbles.
Okay, just one thing that I'm amazed we haven't touched on, and this is because myself and Wick, we're both veterans. And Wick, you've probably seen some of this. There has been direct action to get service members removed for celebration of this assassination and things like that. I fully support that. I don't want people defending my country who wants to normalize and justify political violence.
So
I don't care
just real
what
quick,
side they're on.
Yeah, Jason. Jason.
It's completely different.
The problem is that the examples I've seen of them celebrating the assassination have been things like, there was a lieutenant colonel, for example. He made 4 quotes of what Charlie Kirk said. That's it. That's all he did. And then you have people trying to get him UCMJ'd for that.
And just that I don't agree with.
But that's the majority of things I've seen.
But
online.
there was a bird colonel who literally said he got what he deserved type thing. I don't remember the quote, but he actually was like, yes, this was a good thing, and it's just like, I'm sorry, you can't command troops anymore. You're done.
But also, Jason, just to add to that, I mean, I'm not even really in agreement on you on this topic, but in the defense of what that guy posted, Wick, or like the reason he got fired, people are like, oh, he just posted quotes. And yeah, Charlie Kirk was a shitty person who said a lot of shitty things, but obviously the implication is if you're going to post the things that you think are shitty post his death, you're saying, oh, yeah, well, this is what he said, therefore I don't care. That's the implication there. I don't think he should be fired for that. I think he should be allowed to, though, and I understand. And the idea that it's like, well, I'm just quoting him, I think is a very weaselly defense. Like the idea is, if I took right after MLK's death, found the worst thing he said and put it up on screen, it's like, oh, you're trying to justify it. Whether or not it's good
hold on,
to
just
do
real
that
quick,
is a different story. But that's not
real
what
quick,
he was doing.
Just
I'm just quoting him.
They weren't just doing it. If the only thing that had happened was Charlie Kirk had gotten killed, then you might have a point. But that wasn't the only thing going on. A lot of people were making him into a saint, right? They were making him to say, oh, he was just like Martin Luther King, such a good boy. So in that context, you can see how someone might be putting these quotes out, not to celebrate the death, not to condone the violence, but to simply say, he wasn't a saint, gang.
He was no angel. Yeah, no. And sure,
there's
and
people
also
that
something that someone could get fired over. I'm just saying, like, the idea of saying he was no angel, it's, on the scale of celebrations that I've seen, is not up there. People being like, oh, thank God he's dead, he was a horrible stain on this country, or people just being like, cool, the fascists got blasted or whatever. Like, yeah, all of these things are things that I've seen. It's a wide spectrum. But the idea that, like, oh, you shouldn't be fired for this, this is free speech, I think is silly. Now, I morally might disagree with these hate mobs in the same way back in 2018, people fired James Gunn because he had a pedophile joke in Twitter in 2008. It's silly, it's stupid, and people going after them are stupid. But ultimately, it's the employer's discretion, and if they feel that this is not something they want to be associated with, there's nothing really we should change.
Yeah,
about that at all.
You're saying sort of two things here. One of the things you're saying is a legal argument, which I assume we're all in agreement with, that obviously people should be legally permitted to fire people for their speech, obviously, even in the case of the drywall person, obviously. But I think that the legal case is a different question than the moral case. And I don't think I'm quite hearing yet whether you think on a moral level it's the same to go after someone who's a public speaker for speech versus someone who's, from the Home Depot example.
I think these things are obviously, there's a difference. It's like, hey, your audience, maybe you knew this was going to be amplified versus I tweeted to my, inner circle and someone doxed me and blew it up. Obviously, that matters, but ultimately the employer is going to make that discretion, just like Jason was saying, which is, hey, I don't like that you did this. I don't want to be around you.
I get that they have...
So it's not just but it's not just illegal. I'm just saying morally, it makes sense to me if someone's sees the worst thing you've ever said on the internet and says, I don't know if I want to work with you anymore or want to be part of your circle or want to pay you anymore. All of these things are completely valid reasons morally, in my opinion.
Right, but
I don't agree with every single one. But
I'm asking, is your line different? Does the thing that the person at Home Depot does have to be a more intense moral failing than the moral failing
completely unrelated, like racism, right? You don't have if you don't even interact with other people at your job, you're a coder who works from home, and I find out you're an abhorrent racist, and I want to fire you because I don't like that and I don't like your judgment. It doesn't matter that you don't interact with non-white people anywhere. It's just, look, I don't want you at my job. I don't like your discretion. Period. I think that's pretty morally justifiable.
Right, but I'm asking, if you were an employer. Mm-hmm. And you let's say you own the Daily Wire. Obviously, you have to change your politics first. But
you work at if I owned
it. That's such a good point. Okay, so you own the Daily Wire. Do you feel that the same level of shitty thing that is said on Facebook for Matt Walsh and for the guy who's behind the camera, or do you think that Matt Walsh can say a less shitty thing and still get fired than the guy who works the camera?
I would obviously assume that the discretion for someone who didn't think they were going to be amplified in front of millions of people should be higher as an employer. But it's funny because it's the opposite. These people who are the pundits, who are the president, are saying the most shitty things and are not getting any consequences for it. So as much as I would say, yeah, okay, maybe you said a joke to your friend in private you didn't know was going to get amplified, and maybe I'll give you a little more leeway if I was the employer, it seems like the standard is completely flipped, where we have Matt Walsh and pundits saying the most unhinged, crazy, amplifying, raise the temperature shit and getting absolutely no pushback for it. So I don't know.
Jason, so how do you feel about Trump saying I hate all my enemies? And I mean, I think it's safe to say he's talking about people, the left-wing radicals, that's half the country to him.
So I'm probably
he should get impeached.
So I'm probably like one of the few conservatives that didn't actually watch the entire thing. I went and watched the segment because I saw people talking about it. It was a self-deprecating joke. I got it. I thought it was inappropriate for the setting, but that's Trump. Do I excuse it? No. I'm not sitting there going, "Oh, it was great by any means."
Excuse it?
No.
Didn't you just say that's Trump? Isn't that an excuse?
It was a self-deprecating joke, just like I would.
But then you said that's Trump.
Yes, that's Trump.
That's an excuse.
But I feel like that's always the catch-all. It's like, well, Trump is gonna Trump. Like everybody's saying that as if like, well, fuck it.
Okay. So here's the olive branch. There are things Trump that can say that I would go, no, I absolutely condemn. Okay, when Pam Bondi came out and was talking about the hate speech bullshit, I immediately was like, oh, hell to the no. Okay, I think that shit's stupid. But that, in context, it was a self-deprecating joke. He was basically saying Erica is better than me. This is why she's better than me. I'm not like that because I'm this. It is literally him playing a crowd. Did I think it was
massively irresponsible for the president to amplify tensions between warring parties, like, that are already like at each other's throats because of this? Like, at the very least, think wow, this person should not have the mandate of the country and shouldn't be allowed to make decisions for the country.
So actually, no. I mean, tried bankrupting him, tried putting him in jail. People have tried to put him in the freaking ground. You know what? He's got a little bit more grace because of that.
Besides trying to put him in the ground, is it not the option that maybe he actually committed crimes?
He hasn't been convicted of any crimes, really.
He would have been.
Yeah.
He was convicted.
No, we do.
He
but the moral value of this country says until they're actually convicted. And look,
he was
convicted. He is a felon, right? That is.
I'm not crazy,
actually,
right? That's under.
Jailed. He wasn't jailed.
Well, so it's still being adjudicated because there's a whole appeals thing. He was initially convicted. He was initially convicted under a novel legal theory that they had to actually create new legislation just to charge him. So I'm not going to apologize for that. But he was convicted under some slander laws. But
what about the inflating the real estate in New York? I thought he lost that case.
All right, this is getting off topic.
We're getting off topic.
I'm happy to shit on his.
We don't need to
real
defend
estate
every Trump thing. We can make him just defend the free speech stuff. That's what the topic
I
is.
mean, like for real though. Once you take a shot at a freaking at a politician,
they're allowed
a lot of leeway. After they shot Reagan, you should have heard some of the stuff that was coming out of that man's mouth. It is what it is. When you take a shot at someone.
How many slurs did they get?
Reagan didn't slur. I mean,
but no,
he was a little bit more.
To the leaked audio where he calls African people monkeys.
Depends what he means. What Trump means by enemies too, right? Like there's a steel man there that he means the radical left, the Antifa, not all Democrats, not anyone. Like maybe I will admit maybe he does mean literally everyone who's not on his side. That's possible, but I think he could mean like the people that are destroying the country, the nihilist people who are celebrating violence. And if that's what he means, then that's kind of based. I mean, I don't know.
And I'll give him grace and actually go with that interpretation. I don't think that he is looking at the run-of-the-mill Democrats.
That grace, because Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, you didn't give that grace when they specifically named a very small portion. I'm talking about Trump in general. Maybe you specifically did, but when they say there's a basket of deplorables and they don't mean all the right, but I mean this thing, or when Joe Biden said the MAGA extremists, but when Donald Trump has Stephen Miller in his cabinet saying the entire Democratic Party is the party of violence and radicalism and terrorism, you can't go off and say, well, you know what? I'm going to give him the grace and say, I think he just meant the bad ones, which is absolutely not at all what he meant. He's supposed to be unifying the country like all the other former presidents, and he's not.
So I'll tell you when it comes.
So Hillary Clinton, the quote you just said, the basket of deplorables, and then the mega extremists, that was unifying the country? Just to be
because
clear.
At the very least, you have to understand that they were calling out a very specific, insane subset who tried to overthrow the Democratic election versus Donald Trump talking about the entire Democratic Party.
Wait, the basket of deplorable comment was
before any of that ever happened.
Before any of that.
Yeah, she had the foresight to understand how fucking insane MAGA was going to be and talk about that part of the country.
Hillary Nostradamus. Okay.
It's
so
not Nostradamus.
when it comes
It's Donald Trump telegraphed all of it. But speaking of which, if we want to get back to the topic at hand, Brendan Carr wrote out specifically about using the FCC to do legislative coercion of regulation in Project 2025. So everyone's saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they predicted this," or "You're Nostradamus." It's like, no, they told us they were going to do this, and now they're trying to restrict free speech. So,
well, yeah, he didn't. He did argue with an FCC violation. So,
but the FCC has been doing this for over 50 years. If you've worked for a radio station, if you've worked for broadcast networks, yeah, they actually selectively enforce rules on different entities depending, because once you go over the airways, if you become a ham operator, you have the same kind of responsibilities as ABC, NBC, CBS, or any radio station that operates over the free airways. Okay, this is just the FCC doing FCC shit.
So can you point me an example of the past of the... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and Soy was getting at the same thing.
And Quibbles. Go.
Sorry. You said me?
Logix, Soy Pills, Quibbles.
Yeah, I think we was getting at the same thing. Basically, I want to know what in particular you're talking about. You're saying the FCC is doing FCC. What are you referring to?
I can quote the exact status that he violated.
Who? Yeah, it's distortion of news. It's distortion of news Kimmel. Is what it was.
Yeah. If you lie in the face of a tragedy and you know it's false and it can cause harm, that's an FCC violation. And it's arguable. I mean, the FCC hasn't investigated yet, right? Brendan Carr just said that he would be looking into it. But I would say that Kimmel did lie knowingly. He knew the shooter was on the left. Everybody who's honest is admitting that. And that's a dangerous thing to imply that it was a mega Republican that did it.
Well, first of all, to be clear, he didn't say the guy was MAGA. He said MAGA is doing everything in their power to paint this as anyone but their own. You could reasonably understand as he was saying they were MAGA. No, you could make that reasonable, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Second of all, you have to ignore everything that we just talked about, where Brendan Carr said we are going to use the FCC to crack down legislatively on institutions that may be weaponized by the Democrats. That Donald Trump months ago said after getting Stephen Colbert pulled off the air because the CBS needed a FCC license to finish their deal and their merger, got him out as an appeasement to Trump and gave him that bullshit lawsuit. 2 months after that said, and you know what? Jimmy Kimmel is next. And then look at this and say, look at the Rolling Stone reporting. And so that the executives said, I don't think that he crossed the line, and yet we feel pressure from the Trump administration, so we're going to take him off anyway. And say all of that is, well, he just did a little FCC violation. This totally makes sense. And not, hey, the government has explicitly told us they're going to use the FCC to get rid of things that they don't like.
What has been happening? What has been happening on the left for the last 10 years about Facebook, about Spotify, about trying to cancel
about YouTube,
Spotify, talking about YouTube? All of that shit has been happening. No, they're absolutely related.
That aren't related.
No, I'm saying they're exactly related.
No, they're not.
Dude,
okay, because
broadcast. Jason, I'm agreeing with you.
I know
Jason, I'm agreeing with you. You're not even hearing what I'm saying.
Accurate when you do it. When you go over over the free airways, that is going to be different.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Cable.
That's what I'm saying. I agree. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. It is considerably worse when it's being done in the case of Spotify, which Elizabeth Warren, among others, has been massively trying to pressure both Spotify and Facebook. In the case of the Biden administration during COVID, there was a boatload of censorship of certain policy. All of this was pressure.
I have to push back on this. First of all, this both happened under both administrations, both Trump and Biden. Second of all, they were cracking down on COVID misinformation before there was any request from the Biden administration to take anything down. So this is just not borne out.
And yet there was
third of all, when this went to court, they all got released and did not finish these cases because they had to prove that there was substantial pressure or damage caused on them, which they could not. In fact, you look at the way that this was done. You can say that this is pressure for sure, but Biden was releasing things like, "Hey, we're pointing you to things that we believe is spreading misinformation and maybe."
Do you think it is reasonable to say that the statements? Do you think it is reasonable to say that the statements that have been made very public by people like Elizabeth Warren against private companies are of the same form, but obviously massively different because they are not in the context of public waves as ABC is?
When you say of the same form, I would have to see these quotes specifically. So
I
I'm
don't know
willing to
what
say
you said.
yes, potentially. I have to read these, but it's very
Sure.
different
Yeah.
for, hey, did Elizabeth Warren write out on the plan before the election how they're going to use the FCC to crack down on speech they don't like? And then her president, let's say Joe Biden, in public announced to everyone, I think these people shouldn't have licenses to broadcast their opinions because they cover me very negatively, which is the most insane crackdown on free speech I've
Elizabeth
seen in
Warren
a
is
very
talking-
long time. If she did something like that, I might agree.
You acknowledge that a public broadcasting license holds
Different.
more responsibility, is different than a private company. Like you are beholden to higher standards.
Yes.
Okay.
And if the standards that we're going to revoke those are they're too negative about me, the president, regardless of whether or not I deserve that negativity.
Well, that's not what Brendan
Kimmel
Carr said.
Okay, well that's
Kimmel
what the president is saying. So maybe you should worry about that a little more.
Wait, Kimmel's on one of the 3 networks that are of that form, right?
Yes.
In the entire country, there are only 3.
Mhm.
Do we all grant that he is obviously of the left? Do we all grant that there is obviously no comparable person who is of the right on any of those 3 networks?
What are the other? What's the third?
It's CBS, NBC, and ABC.
Yeah.
And NBC. Okay. No, I would say there's not someone as big on the right there. No.
Okay, so do we grant that is an obvious slanting that is governmentally paid for benefiting the left?
Sure.
No, because it's not an election season, though.
It doesn't matter.
It benefits the left. If they want to describe, if they want to say negative things about the president, sure.
I mean,
hold on. Just a question, Quibbles.
This is not Fox. This is not CNN.
Quibbles, am I wrong?
CNN
But
are
don't
private
ABC,
companies.
NBC,
They can do whatever the
and
fuck they want.
CBS? Hold on, don't NBC, ABC, and CBS actually pay the government for their licenses? Like they're not getting paid by the government.
But they pay the government. Yes,
they also
they pay the
settle
government
lawsuits that are
substantially
totally
below
frivolous
market
just to
rate
make sure
and
they
have
get
had.
the license,
Wait,
just to be clear.
I'm answering Wick's. I'm going to have to answer Wick's question. Yes, they do pay the government, but they pay the government substantially below market rate, and the substantially below market rate paying for the last 60, 70 years. I believe since 1969, something like that. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, but they're not getting paid by the government.
Yeah.
No, they're essentially being subsidized.
No, but they're essentially being subsidized by the government because they should be spending, if it was actually paid at market rate, they'd be paying many billions of dollars more than they're actually paying, and therefore they're getting, in essence, a subsidy of those billions of by the government. And if those 3 organizations are clearly of the left,
they're too critical of them.
I'm sorry.
Should the government rightfully take that away if they're too critical of the government?
So it's actually not about being critical.
Yeah, I think those 3. Wait. Yes.
Say whatever you're about to say, Jason.
Hold on.
The president said it was. So
I think that
I
those
don't care what
3
the
organizations.
president says, he doesn't run the FCC.
You don't care what the president says?
He is
those
the
3
organizations. He does not run the
organizations.
FCC.
Yes,
the FCC
Brendan Carr reports to him. He fucking takes. Oh my
Brendan
God!
Carr
Brendan
reported to Biden when
out.
Biden
I'm
was
going to
president
use
too.
Trump as president to do this as head of the FCC.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Obviously, what the president says is relevant, of course, but obviously so too. It is relevant and important that these are only 3 organizations, and those 3 organizations are clearly of the left and are clearly getting billions of dollars in subsidies, which is obviously massively unfair and obviously massively different than if we're talking about MSNBC or Newsmax.
Could you elaborate on unfair? What do you mean unfair? Like, for example,
it is unfair that one side of the...
Let me finish my question, because my understanding is if the president does a lot of crazy shit and they want to report on that accurately and portray it negatively as people who understand reality would, somehow now they should say, well, you're describing what I'm doing, I'm going to take away your license, because that's fucking insane to me. But
it depends. It can't be overly partisan. That's according to the FCC.
Talking about
partisan when you're just
Soy.
What is
it's fine that you're
about
Soy,
like illegally detaining people and stuff like that.
That was a question to me. Soy, it is totally valid to be a partisan if you are a normal person. You personally are totally allowed to be a partisan. If you are on MSNBC, you can be as partisan as you want. Rock on, be a partisan on Cartoon Network, right? But that's different than being a partisan on ABC. ABC cannot be partisan, and if there is a massive partisan slant, which clearly there is across all 3 networks, that's a problem.
Is there a rule that says they're not allowed to have opinions on politics?
Yes, there is a neutrality law. Yes.
No.
As I understand
the shows, not the corporation, the people on shows are not allowed to.
As I understand it, they have to
neutrality.
I got to talk about this, Jason. To be clear, for decades and all this time, they've just been violating the law. Jimmy Kimmel saying anything that had anything to do with politics and didn't stand exactly on the center was a violation. The FCC should have revoked
the aggregate should be of the center. The aggregate of the three networks.
Hold on. What rule are you referring to, Quibbles?
How do you measure the
There's a
aggregate of the politics of these
There's a
things?
neutrality law around
Can you show me
these.
this,
Can you?
please?
Yeah.
I
Can you
think
link me?
This sounds insane
this
to me.
because
I understand there's
I don't believe
neutrality
that's
from the corporations,
true.
but the
It hasn't
idea
been
that you
true for
can't
years.
broadcast
Fairness-
certain
it's the
shows where you
fairness
have to-
It's the fairness
He's
doctrine
referring
of
to.
the
When
Red
was the
Line
fairness doctrine
Broadcasting
repealed?
Company versus FCC.
When
of
was the fairness
1969.
doctrine repealed?
It wasn't repealed.
It wasn't.
was. It's no longer the rule.
I was going to say, I think
pretty
It hasn't
sure
been
it's
for
still in-
decades.
No, that's not true.
Hold on. When it comes to open airways, the fairness doctrine does apply.
Oh yeah,
When
in terms of
when
but
you're
those are
talking
the ones with
when you're talking
thousands
about
of
cable and the internet, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't. So there's different categories.
the fairness. Yeah. So to clarify, yes, it is. It has been originally it was designed to be for all media, which made sense when there was only three media companies to talk about, only three airwaves. But now there are thousands of different radio places, and there's millions of different places on the internet. And so therefore, of course, you can say whatever the hell you want on your Twitch channel. Obviously, that's different than the case of those specific. It was overturned in a broad sense, meaning that you can say whatever the hell you want on cable, but you cannot say whatever the hell you want on ABC. That's not true.
If the
you guys remember
taxpayer
the-
is subsidizing it, you've got to show a little bit more fairness. I actually have
I'm
no
reading
problem
the book in
with Jimmy
2011. I don't
Kimmel
know what you guys are talking about,
critiquing the president. Where the problem is that the other side is never.
Yeah,
is
I
never
don't see
actually
this
shown,
rule
and that's where
anywhere. We haven't had the
said
fairness doctrine in a
it
while. In
did,
fact, they've been trying to
yeah.
reinstate the fairness doctrine for years.
since the 80s.
But they
Do we
haven't had
do we
this
at least
for-
remember the Equal
for
Times
decades.
Act violation that
That's what I was
that
talking
SNL
about.
was hit with when
Equal time-
Kamala was on?
that doesn't apply to this. This isn't an election
No, I'm
season.
just making sure that we're on the same page that exists, right?
Yeah, that exists. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, the View has violated that since its inception.
Yeah,
Right,
And
there's
just
a
to
lot
be
of
clear, the
FCC
argument you guys are
violations that
making is
go
the fairness doctrine
non-
has been violated for the past 50 years by all these things who are always and have always been at least slightly left, if not more left. And
That's not
just
true.
now, all of a sudden, Trump
Well-
realized and woke everyone up, and that's why he's bringing it. And not
okay,
what
well-
he's
It is-
hold on, just real
explicitly
quick,
saying,
just real quick,
which is
just
real
they're
quick.
being too negative to me, and I want to take away their licenses. So.
The FCC abolished the fairness doctrine in 1987.
87.
Did they?
Yes,
Yeah.
For which?
What you mean?
just in general. It's not
It was actually a
applicable anymore.
4-0.
I-
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a 4-0 decision. Syracuse Peace Council decision. Okay,
Yeah, it's
I'll
gone,
take
man.
But Wick, I don't know why we're talking about it all because even Donald Trump and the administration isn't citing this as the reason they're trying to take away these licenses. They're citing it because they're like, hey, they're being too mean to me. That is the
No.
reason. And if you're okay with that,
What Carr actually said is that under the deprecation of news or distortion of news, under distortion of news is what he was actually talking about, and he's like, we're going to
News
look
distortion,
into
to be
it.
clear, but
There-
yeah,
there's-
go ahead.
There's actually no evidence that the FCC did anything. In fact, there is evidence showing that it was the affiliate stations and the advertisers that
the
actually
Rolling
got Kimmel
Stone article
knocked off.
explicitly cites sources that say that they felt pressure from the FCC. And
You
their
can feel
FCC
pressure all
directed
you
them.
want, but until the FCC actually imposes a fine or some type of censure, there's nothing you can really do about that.
Do you
Pressure exists.
understand the
Frickin-
conceptual chilling effect of, hey, I'm going to revoke your
Obama
license
put
if you don't do
15
what I
journalists
say?
in prison, bro.
For what?
You want to talk about chilling
For what?
effect? Because
What
it
did he
wouldn't
do?
play along with them.
What,
Jesus.
is that why he did it? So,
Well, let's,
because I didn't hear about this. If I look this up, are you going to just be completely
Obama.
wrong? Because what's what we've got, we're
No.
1 for 1 on that, and so I just want to make sure.
Had it. Let's see.
Everyone's Googling
Was
shit 'cause
jailed.
they didn't research this beforehand. Okay, so first of all,
Well,
I've
I
got a
didn't even
whole
think I was gonna
document
bring
full of
that
notes,
up.
but we're not talking about
Here-
that
here,
stuff right
on
now.
the- news
I'll be
distortion-
honest, I did not expect this to be a
yeah, it's fine.
topic of contention. I knew that this was I knew this was the case. I did not expect anyone to be surprised by it being. But I will
Well,
find
the FCC
Yeah.
rule that I think is being referred to by Confluence and Sparky. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Quibbles, but
Obama
Confluence-
used the Espionage Act to put a record number of reporters and sources in jail because they wouldn't give out their sources. Okay, this is
that's not the same.
How is that not the same?
That's not the
How
same.
is that not a
So
chilling
what
effect?
FCC
How is
did,
putting
what
putting
Carr did-
journalists in
what Carr
prison
did-
for protecting their sources, which is a constitutional protected right, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that, is what I'm saying. The people shouldn't
But
have been.
if you're
Well,
saying
don't
that
even read
doesn't
that
have a
way.
chilling
Let's
effect on
wait.
speech, bro, I don't know what is.
I'd say arguably, if everything you're saying is true, which I highly doubt, and I'll read about it right now, then yeah, that would have a chilling effect. But that still does not deny the fact that, one, Obama's not president right now, and you can say, hey, I'm hypocritical for not having criticized him when I was 12. Sure.
Actually, no,
but
I'm not going to criticize you for that. I'm just
well,
saying
you should if it was
this is
true.
not the first time, okay? This is
I
the
didn't
first
say
time
anything about
that
this
a president has chilled speech.
Okay,
The fact
no,
that
hold
there
on.
was
I just
actually
want to
no
be real
action
clear. I
taken
just want to be
is
real
more
clear about the
important.
FCC rule
but the
because
whole
it's being
reason
cited incorrectly. So the FCC rule requires three things for hoaxes, for news distortion, and things like that. For hoaxes, at least, it requires three things. Two of which were cited. One was that it has to be a knowing lie. Okay, that has to be a knowing lie. Two, that the people approving it, the station approving it, has to have a reasonable expectation of public harm. Okay, and three, that the public harm has to actually occur. What is public harm? In that rule, you'll read the definition. It's threats, or it's damage, I should say, to property, to health, or to safety, or if it's taking away like cops or firefighters or something from those things to kind of do that. It's meant to stop something like a War of the Worlds hoax. That's what the rule is for. But to act as if Jimmy Kimmel, in his words, applies to that, I'll just ask you, who was harmed? Who was hurt? Who got what
no, you
property
don't have to
got
get that
killed?
far. So how was it even a knowing law? The first one was a lie.
Yeah, I mean, none of it applies.
Okay, well,
but
okay, I think
wonder
you
how
guys
Fox
just
is
you
still
guys just
here.
proved my point. I mean, that's the Harbeck cost, is that now there's a bunch of lefties running around saying that it was a right-wing shooter. A bunch of people
that's
believe
not
that,
harm in
despite
the
all
definition of the
evidence.
rule, man.
Wait,
People
first of
believing a
all,
thing that's not true is not harm in the
believing
definition of the
something is
rule.
not
I
true
think
is not
that's-
necessarily
I think
harm.
that's public- I think
You
that's
don't
Actually,
believe
that's
harm.
spreading
Believing
falsehood.
something that isn't
To believe
true
something is
isn't
not
a
true?
harm. Of course it's. Wait, stop. Let's zoom out. Believing something that is not true is harm. This is why Alex Jones was sued
Not
for $1 billion.
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
If I believe I'm the
Yes.
prettiest boy in the world,
Why are we-
am
wait,
I
wait,
harming
Believing
myself?
something that is not true about someone who was just killed in a political assassination is obviously harm. If you
Not by
believe
the
that Alex
definition in the
Jones deserved to be
FCC.
sued
What
as
property
he
is harmed
was
by that?
I'm
Where
sorry?
are you-
What
where are you
property
seeing
got
the-
what property got
where-
destroyed or
Where
damaged
are you
because of
seeing
that?
that?
What property
I'm on
was
that-
destroyed in the Alex Jones case?
I'm
Okay, we're
looking
not
at the
talking about
FCC
Alex
thing.
Jones
I
right
don't see
now.
anything
We're
with
talking
the
about
I'm
this
sorry,
one
I'm sorry.
specifically.
Confluence. I'm sorry. I want to. What
Sorry.
What harm was there from the Alex Jones case?
We're not
when he
talking
was
about the
lying
Alex Jones. I'm
about
going to ask my question again with the
shooting
Kimmel case,
victims?
which is the one that we are adjudicating today, right?
My
In the
point
Kimmel
is that
case-
these are exactly one-to-one parallel.
and also
in this context,
no,
right?
because wasn't the Alex Jones thing a civil suit?
It was a civil suit.
No,
Yes.
Wick, the distinction here is the Alex Jones thing did manifest in real harm. It's not one-to-one because it's not an FCC violation. It's Alex Jones causing harm to the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting by lying about them. But to be clear, Jimmy Kimmel did not lie. In the best interpretation, you can say he might have said that this guy was a MAGA shooter, but that's not, one, proving intent, and two, a lie, because you can also interpret it as that, hey, MAGA is trying to push this on everyone but themselves, which is exactly what they did, because before we had any information, they were claiming it was a trans shooter.
But we're not all autistic here, right? We know what an implication is. Like if you take a super literal reading of it, I agree, and I think that's what Wick tried to do yesterday, which I think maybe Wick had too much in utero Tylenol or something, because like that's too literal of a reading. I think anyone who like looks at that,
He didn't actually say it, but we're going to say he said it because
But
you know.
he did say it.
He didn't say it.
Well, look, when Nick Fuentes talks about how you can't bake 6 million cookies, he didn't say anything about the Holocaust, but we all know what he means. There's a clear implication for anyone who's not
But
like
that
terminally
clear
like,
implication does not
brain
exist in
broken.
this
In
case.
good faith, because I understand. When I first heard this, I said, you could absolutely interpret this as him saying the shooter was MAGA. But can you at least acknowledge that there's definitely not 100% proof of intent there, and it's very
I
plausible.
think there's a good faith reading in a different direction.
I do, Soy Pill. I actually do acknowledge. I do acknowledge it's possible, but I think, would you acknowledge that? I think probably, let's say, 90% of people that listened to Kimmel that day heard him say that the shooter was probably MAGA. That's what most.
possible.
That's what
Even
most
if
Americans
possible, and I'm
heard.
possible, you
acknowledging
said
that.
probably.
But the problem is the FCC violation says proof and intent of lying, not, well, people might have walked away with this with the wrong thing, which is a fair criticism to have, but that is not why they're taking this down, and that's not why they're threatening these people. And it's
so Here's
Okay,
the
so
deal.
actually, but wait, I want to ask a quick question then. So let's say Nick Fuentes was on ABC and he said his 6 million cookies, you couldn't bake those in a given time. Would you say, well, would you be sitting here and say,
No,
well,
I
I
wouldn't,
understand why people would say
because
it, but
Nick
like
Fuentes
literally
is a
he didn't say
neo-Nazi,
it.
and Jimmy Kimmel does not have the same precedent in history that Nick Fuentes does. So I don't think this is a
Okay.
good analogy.
Wait, how is that? How is that not
Well,
a good analogy?
one of them's like,
If we're
there's
looking at
literally
the
no other
statement
way you could
itself,
interpret this unless for some reason Nick Fuentes
But you could
just
take the
happened to pick
literal
a
case.
random
You could,
number
yeah,
of
maybe
cookies
he's
that happen to be 6
exactly.
million.
Well, could you?
And
would
the
you
other
admit
is a
that's
very
possible?
reasonable. When I say reasonable, you reasonably agree that it could be that what he said was something that I believe, which is that MAGA was trying to paint this as anyone but themselves, right?
I think if 99% of your audience takes something some way, that is significant. And I think you agreed with me that the vast majority of people watching that,
I said that's
what
possible.
you
I didn't
even
agree
heard
with
the
you.
first time. You even said that the first time you heard it, that's what it sounded like. How many people are rewinding it over and over and listening to the literal words and being like, wait, is there another interpretation?
Have the standard that he intended to lie about it. Maybe he truly even believed it. That's
Well, they would have to
completely
look.
different story.
Look, I don't
but
even-
it's
I don't
also
even know.
possible to have multiple ways of interpretation.
I
And
don't even
the
know
way
if that's
that
for
they-
sure an
the
FCC
way that they would actually
violation.
enforce
he definitely
this.
intended to lie, and that's why it's okay that they got him off the air.
So
Well,
the way
when
they would
by
actually
the way,
enforce
you
this,
can't
all of you
deny
guys
the
are
Sinclair
bending
and
over
the
backwards
Netstar
to
stuff.
strictly interpret this in a very strict way. When the president is contradicting you on television, saying, "Actually, I don't give a fuck about that. It's because he's being mean to me." So I don't know
Donald
why
Trump
we keep
says
playing
a bunch
these
of
games.
nonsense. I
He's
mean, like,
the fucking president. Stop
I
hiding
understand,
behind that and grinning about a
I'm not
curve.
hiding behind that. I just am
Hey.
open. I'm honest with you. He says a lot of shit. I
Soy,
mean, like, what do you want?
I
Do you want me
will
to like
accept that argument.
deep
Comes
throat
to
Trump the
fruition
whole
from
time?
from the shit he says.
Wait, I
He's
will
not just
accept
saying
that
shit.
argument the moment proof is produced that Trump actually called Carr and said, "Go ahead, get him off the air, pull their license." You do
Hold on.
that, you
Hold
show
on,
me some kind
hold
of
on.
proof.
I
some
mean,
evidence.
Sparky, hold on, just real quick. Hold on. Hold on.
He is literally saying that in the video. Do you want to watch? He's like, I think they should probably have their license revoked. You know, it's up to Brendan Carr, but you know,
It's
well,
up
I
to
don't know.
Brendan
Maybe
Carr,
he could
he's
interpret
not
it
given an
multiple
order.
ways.
That's a big difference.
Okay, well, all right.
Okay,
cool.
come
fair
on.
enough.
That's
Look, he like
obviously
pretty
he's
much
giving
stated
order.
it.
Just like when your buddy Destiny, you know,
My buddy,
basically
yeah.
does the whole rid me of this priest bullshit. You know,
What?
it's
Won't
yes,
someone
when
rid me
he's-
of this troublesome priest? It's a famous
Yes.
quote. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
if I don't know if Destiny said that, but if he did, I would also interpret that as bad. If you're talking about his stuff about
Destiny
like
did not say
Republicans
that,
should
by
be
the way.
scared,
No, he did
you
not
should
say
know
that.
that I've confronted him publicly about this
inferred it.
twice, so I'm absolutely doing that. Like,
Yes,
not,
I have
like,
actually
letting that
seen you
slide.
confront him, and I actually think that's kind of based. But it just it is what it is.
Hold on.
You
Nothing
know,
But can
makes
we
me
not?
question my
Hold
choices
on.
more than when all
Can we
the
not
other
understand
people
when the
do it, by the way.
FCC Carr, right, the chair of the FCC, goes on a program, right? I think it was Benny Johnson's podcast, and says,
Mhm.
we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
Yes.
Do we not interpret that at least as a threat?
No, I will tell you 100% that is a threat.
Okay, so
Okay.
this
However,
is
they
why you
haven't
are not
threat
allowed,
adjacent.
the government is not
But-
allowed to make threats to
The fuck they
private
aren't.
companies
The
to say,
actual fuck
you
they
will do
aren't.
this or we will punish you. And
You
when
are
it comes to
insane
speech.
if you think the
Yeah,
government.
yeah.
cannot
Why
threaten.
do you think that's not a thing that can happen?
Because the
Jesus.
Supreme Court has ruled several times that the government cannot use coercive threats to pressure a private corporation to
And yet the
their
FCC
speech.
exists today. The FCC has been doing that against radio stations and broadcasters. Their
Can you
entire
can you give
history.
me another
They
time where the chair of the
impose
FCC
fines.
publicly threatened to remove a broadcaster for their speech?
If I remember right, what was it? Sinclair was actually threatened by the FCC a while back, I think, for the radio shit.
Jason, while you're looking
I'll
that up,
look it
I just want to be clear. Like, I think what you're painting is these regulatory bodies absolutely are going to have some sort of pressure on these institutions always. But for example, if the FEMA was like, hey, here are conditions of aid, you can't take this money, Mr. Mayor, and then spend it all on gambling. That is coercive pressure, right? But if you said, hey, I'm not going to give you this money if you say anything bad about Trump, which is, by the way, something that Republicans have floated recently. That's different. That is not, hey, we're making sure you're doing what you are supposed to be doing with this money. That is saying, if you are not explicitly partisan towards me, I will not allow you to
But
have the thing that you have.
that's emphatically not what Carr said. Okay, right? Like, you acknowledge that.
Well, first of all, he literally wrote this in Project 2025. If you want to go read about how he wants to do this, and I don't know if he explicitly said what I just said for that FEMA example, but he has this, been planning this out. He wrote that section in Project 2025 in fucking like October. So like, yes, this is absolutely what he's been trying to do.
I think we have to look at the case on Benny Johnson. What did he say? What was the exact thing? He didn't say you need to be more charitable towards Trump. He said what he said about Charlie Kirk could be an FCC violation, and it could be. He's not even saying it is. I'm not even saying it is. It could be, and he's back on the air. So I guess the FCC pressure wasn't enough,
and the election wasn't stolen. So no harm, no foul. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
the 2020 election is coming
you
on,
can acknowledge
bro.
it's also probably pressure from the syndicates like Sinclair and Netstar and stuff too, right? That probably had a play in it.
That's why the FCC threatened them too. Right? The FCC Carr in that same program, he said he called upon the affiliates to do this or else they'd have to take measures. And remember, Sinclair and what was the other group? Netstar? Yeah. They both have Nexstar has a multi-billion-dollar merger that still needs approval by the FCC, right? In the works.
Disney still has one going with NFL Network too.
Yeah, and the Sinclair,
so I mean, there's a lot of
is always making purchases of TV stations that require FCC approval. So again, you understand how when the FCC head says, "Hey, unless you do this, we're gonna have an issue." This is multi-billions of dollars that are on the line for them.
I want to add to this because I hope you're not talking hypothetically. This is exactly what happened with Colbert and the Paramount merger. This was not we understand we violated something, we're going to do XYZ. They settled a case that was completely frivolous and got rid of Colbert because of the pressure from the admin that said, we are going to approve your merger and we won't do it if you don't do
you
this.
Grant that there has been pressure? Wait, Soy, do you grant that there's been pressure by the left in similar ways? On Spotify in the case of Joe Rogan, on Facebook in the case of COVID stuff, on YouTube.
I would say the
Google
word similar would be carrying too much weight because none of this is about criticism of a person. It is about potentially harmful misinformation. But yes, there's always going to be some sort of pressure from the administration.
What do you mean? Wait, why do you think that those are different?
Okay, so one of them is I don't like the way these people are talking about me. And hey, potentially the things you're saying, because I agree, I didn't disagree with this. When you said words could be harmful, yeah, when Joe Rogan's dipshit goes out and says, you don't need to get the vaccine, just take hydroxychloroquine or whatever, and it potentially is going to kill millions of people with his rhetoric, I can understand the government having concerns and wanting to step in there. And I might be okay with certain amounts of pressure being applied versus, hey, you're being too negative towards me.
What kinds of pressure and on whom?
Do you understand that those things are different?
Wait. What kinds of pressure and on whom? Because to be clear, the case of Alex Jones, he did something illegal. And to be clear, Joe Rogan did not do anything illegal, right?
I didn't say he did anything illegal. What I said was, if you
so
want to potentially talk to a company and say, hey, we've noticed that these types of misinformation are spreading on your platform that could cause harm, for example, vaccine denialism. And I'm not saying, first of all, no, because what are they threatening them with? If they're saying, hey, you don't have to take this down.
What are they threatening Spotify with? Are you serious?
What were they threatening them with? Seriously.
Spotify obviously needs shit from the government. Every large organization needs shit from the government.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you show me? Because maybe I'll agree with you if this is true. If Elizabeth Warren was like, we're going to take away your ability to fucking
Elizabeth
broadcast.
Warren was claiming that she wanted to break up Facebook. She was threatening to break them up as a company. Obviously, that would cost them many billions of dollars. Of course, that is a cost to them. The same thing goes for Spotify. The same thing goes for YouTube.
Or any misinformation.
No, she's been doing it explicitly in conjunction with her complaints about their speech, the speech that is on their platforms.
Okay, that's fair then. If that's exactly what
how
you're
that's
representing
bad.
it. Hold on, wait.
Warren has done
if that is how you're representing it, if Warren is
right?
explicitly threatening them with breaking up if they don't do what she says, I would say that is a similar amount of pressure. Although I would say the motivations are completely fucking different depending on, hey, I want to save
so the motivations are good
yes,
and
the
holy.
motivations absolutely
the motivations
do change
are
whether or not
lovely
there's a
and
violation
lovey-dovey.
of
It's totally fine.
Because obviously we're willing to give up certain rights when it comes to the fact that we might be killing millions of people. But regardless of that, I'm still not sure if that's exactly what happened.
I have a question. Wait, I'm sorry. Let's zoom out. I have a question.
To be fair, Elizabeth Warren did say that in 2019. It was before COVID. It was before COVID.
Oh, it was?
She certainly ramped it up during COVID.
It was 2019.
Okay,
she may have said certain.
That's like
she
2
may
or
have said
3
it
times
a couple
now. You've completely
times.
misrepresented something, and I've granted you the good faith of saying
that is
if
not
you're right, and then
that's a complete.
Okay,
to be clear,
yeah, you're just wrong 100%. She did not do that specifically for that. That was always part of her platform.
She said it primarily around COVID. I'm sure if you really search the web, you can find some one-off things said by either Carr or Trump back in 2023 before anything.
He said the opposite. He said she might have done it, and and that's what he just said. He said she might have started
No, he
pre-COVID
just said
and
it,
ramped
but 10
it
minutes
up.
ago he said no, she wasn't. It was explicitly this. Just
It was about COVID. Yes, there was some stuff that she said prior to COVID, just as this is about Kimmel, but certainly you could find examples of shit that Trump has said 6 months ago and that Carr has said 6 months ago. Obviously. But it's obviously about Kimmel now, and it's obviously was about COVID.
When Joe Biden was president,
about
Brendan
Joe Rogan.
Carr said, I actually do think that criticizing the president, such as with his satirical comedy, should be allowed, and we should encourage this sort of thing. And then
Elizabeth
as soon as
Warren
Trump
had said
became
some
president,
things
then
in
he absolutely is
2012
flipping on this, and he's trying to help his fucking...
How is he flipping on this? This is about Charlie Kirk and misinformation in the face of a tragedy. This isn't about Kimmel saying something bad about Trump. You keep it that way.
Hold on, one at a time. We're gonna give it to Logix. He hasn't got it. Hold on, just real quick.
Logix, like the past and the
Soy, stop.
But I want to clarify.
No, Quibbles, shut up.
Soy,
shut up.
Looking at this 1 second
and
believing them at their word.
Shut up. Quibble, I'm sorry, Logix. Logix wants to go. He's been trying to get in. We're gonna give the mic to Logix. Go ahead, Logix.
I just find this is what's happening. Y'all are picking out one instance and then looking at it in a vacuum and be like, oh, well, maybe this is why. Oh, it doesn't matter what Brendan said back in 2020. It doesn't matter. He just said this now or whatever. Y'all keep picking things apart and trying to dissect it as if we don't have this framework that's been going on since 2016 that we can look at and see the sequence of events that lead to Trump is putting his hand in things and results are coming of that. And then just because it doesn't go his way, you're like, oh, well, it's all okay. Nothing bad actually happened, even though time and time again we see this pattern of behavior. Like, look at this as an entire sequence of events, not one thing.
I agree. We should look at this as an entire sequence.
Before you go, hold on. Some housekeeping things. Okay, before you go, because I need to make a little money.
I'm going to zoom out.
I'm going to read some. I'll give you the mic as soon as I'm done with this. So first of all, we got 252 watching and 17 likes. What the hell? Like the fucking stream. Okay, I don't know what you're doing. Let me read some super chats and we'll get back to it. We don't have too many. $5 from Gen X to say, please get Will Bird back in another debate with better opponents soon. Have him reach out to me if he's interested in a topic. $5 from Testicle Johnson to say, Aircraft Sparky looks like diabetes and hypertension all at once.
Cool story. Show your face on the internet, fucker.
Gen X, thank you for the membership, Tier 1. Fancy Teeth for $2 says, should Fox be taken off if under the doctrine? Well, Fox, as I understand it, isn't.
Fox is not under the broadcast.
Fox is cable. No.
Just like CNN and MSNBC aren't under that either.
Not news, which allows them to get away with a lot more, and still had to settle that Dominion lawsuit for hundreds of millions of dollars for fucking lying. So.
Right. Okay. Finish the
$5. I'm not done yet. $5 from Potentially Criminal to say, had Carr not dabbed on Kimmel's removal on the Benny Johnson stream, this wouldn't have been an issue. This is where I had the problem on my end. And the super chatter is right. Carr, after he was fired, said he did the what was the gif of the people going whoop whoop, we got him, right? Like Carr said he did it. Like, I got him fired.
Yes, this is Project 2025. I definitely was going to do this the whole time. We lied about it to you during the election. I'm very happy we're doing this.
Yeah, $10 from Will from Texas to say the Bush admin, including Ari Fleischer, I don't know, publicly pressured ABC about Bill Maher, Jimmy Kimmel's late night predecessor. This really isn't completely unprecedented. Thank you for the $10, William from Texas. And with that, Quibbles, the mic is yours.
Cool. Okay. So, Logix, you are correct that we are sort of like focusing in on this very hyper-specific niche moment in history, and that there's a broader context of shit that's been happening for 15 years. There are certain things that are like, obviously the left is more guilty of the thing, or in terms of election lies, that's the right, okay? Obviously the right is. In terms of who's getting subsidies by the government in order to make their speech, that's the left, right? All of the subsidies are.
Quibbles,
you keep cutting out.
You're cutting out. Your mic's being weird, man.
Adjust your mic.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
Every like few seconds.
It's every time you lean back.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. If I just like lean forward, is it gonna be fine?
Probably.
It's fine so far.
Or just shout more.
Okay, I'll do this then.
How about we all shout more?
Exactly right.
I think we're at a fine level right now.
This is perfect. Okay, I'll speak exactly like this the entire time with no inflection. Okay, so in terms of like money given by the government to speech, giant $1 billion subsidies, all of that is going to the left. That's a problem. It is reasonable to talk about it. In terms of the pressures that are being placed by governmental officials onto non-governmental, that is clearly something that Elizabeth is guilty of. That Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are
Quibbles, you're
something
still
that
cutting
a lot.
out.
Really?
Cut it out, pal. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
This is
what's
God
infuriating.
telling you that your words
Hold up.
need to be censored. Okay,
Yeah.
let's give it to.
Okay, how about this? Is this going to?
We get what your point is, though. Let's
not the one
start
that's good.
start on the first one, though. About your claim here that only the left is getting subsidies by the government, and that's a problem. Soy Pill had a question about that. Soy Pill asked you a
Disagree with
question.
that.
And
One sec, I have to deal with an N-word poster in chat. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah,
he said Nazi in chat. What's going on? It's the N word.
No, the other one.
He said
The other
neighbor.
N-word.
Saw me and
Nuclear?
just lost it.
He said neighbor. Why
You know,
would he
I don't know if
do
this
that?
makes me
It's
less
so
racist, but
unnecessary,
when I read
man.
that N-word, I didn't think it was directed at you at all. I was like, this guy's just being
I don't even know if it was Soy. I'm just talking.
I assumed it was directed at me personally.
True. That's
What's
that's
the?
what I thought.
Let's not do the I am Spartacus scene with the word. All right, Wick, what was the question?
Yes. So
question.
Quibbles made a claim that I want to talk about. And then Quibbles said that it is a problem that only the left is getting these government subsidies, ABC, NBC, CBS, and that's a problem. And Soy, you had a question for him, but
Yes, my question was, one, I don't believe this is necessarily true. Obviously, if you're specifically talking about these FCC license things, yes, these things are leaning left. But the idea that it's like the people receiving speech are disproportionately left. Well, here's the thing. If I look at the fact that, the Murdochs or the the Koch brothers are able to fund billions of dollars worth of things without government assistance, it's like, yeah, okay. But why is... Huh?
Hold on. I can actually answer this. I can actually answer this.
Now I can't hear Quibbles at all.
AM radio. AM radio is mostly dominated by conservatives, and AM radio gets subsidies from
that as
the
well.
government.
Thank you, Jason, for acknowledging that.
How many people listen to AM radio though, compared to
A
like
lot,
cable TV?
a lot.
But compared to cable TV,
that's why anyone knows who
So
Rush
too, a lot
Limbaugh
of people
is.
listen to NPR. There's something directly comparable, which is NPR, and that is also subsidized by the government, right?
Well, not much.
Yes,
So I'm
NPR
asking,
is
like, what
definitely
is the
subsidized by the
billion-dollar
government, yes.
comparable
Isn't it, like,
thing
not
to
anymore?
ABC, CBS?
Yeah, it still is.
I was
No, it's a
saying the
huge number
idea
of
that
people.
this
It's
is
old people for both of
explicitly
them.
left, like, is I think
Yeah.
kind of, if you want to say a majority of it is, sure. My question is, why is that a problem?
It's a problem because there's billions of dollars in public money that is going to the progressive movement or to the Republican movement, and it's clear that it's substantially more going to the progressive movement, and that is an issue.
Yeah, how
Well,
is that
see,
not
that-
a
was-
Soy
now
Pill?
the
How is that
difference-
not a problem?
Because now that's what I'm thinking is the highlight here that I don't think really is borne out. When you say, well, if we look at specifically in terms of news broadcasting, there's billions of dollars from public money going to this, but then you're going to ignore all of the billions of dollars of subsidies that people like Elon Musk get and then put into Republican campaigns, all of the companies that get,
That's not
billions of dollars of
government
subsidies.
money though.
It
That's not
is
government
no,
money.
no. This is government money. So the idea of like, well, it only matters when it's in this specific sector of the news. I just don't understand why.
Wait, maybe
that
I
is why you're
misheard you. Aren't you
hyper-focusing
talking
on
about
that.
Elon Musk
Elon
is not-
Musk funding?
Elon
Because
Musk
Elon
is
Musk
not
is not the government.
Elon Musk is
I didn't
not
say he was.
directly
Maybe I
getting
misheard
money.
you.
Elon Musk is not directly getting money from the government in order to create propaganda.
No,
ABC
he's getting
is
money.
directly
No,
getting money from
sorry,
the
his
government in order to
companies
create
that he
propaganda.
funds primarily is getting
He's a
funding from the
private
government,
citizen.
allowing him to free up funds to influence stuff in the government.
Every
right-wing
single
wise.
large
But
organization
it's not direct
has,
public funds going to direct right-wing things.
so
just
every
like
single
the
every
subsidies
single
for
large
NPR
organization
aren't going specifically
This
to.
is ridiculous. This is just obviously ridiculous. Every single large public organization or private organization is going to get some number of dollars. In the case of giant trillion-dollar companies, billions of dollars in terms of government grants, obviously. That doesn't mean that somehow those private organizations doing speech is the same as something being done on ABC or something where it is a direct subsidy for...
Yeah, I feel like Soy Pill, your entire argument is that money is...
Wait, I have to address what you just said. Do you
Okay.
think it's an issue if universities, which are primarily left-wing, are getting disproportionate government funding since there's not as many right-wing universities that are being funded for research or any of this other stuff?
I don't think that it is the case that there is a lack of conservative desire to create propaganda in a way that I agree that there is a lack of conservative to create, education in the soft sciences.
Well, the
I think it's
idea that
perfectly
you're framing
appropriate
this, it's like,
to-
yes, there's no equivalent because there doesn't need to be, because Fox News doesn't need that government funding. They don't need the FCC license. So,
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's zoom out. We need to have funding for the military, right? The military is going to be majority conservative people who are in support, right? We need to have funding for science research. Science research is going to be majority progressives that are in support. That doesn't mean that we're benefiting the progressive movement by funding research and development in the sciences.
So the reason I brought up the Elon Musk example, to be clear, because you seem to not be okay with that, is that by giving him billions in subsidies that he needs to get all the money that has acquired his billion, if not now $1 trillion wealth, that he now uses to influence Republican politics positively and help get Trump elected, that is a direct one-to-one. I understand, yes.
It's not a direct
one-to-one. It sounds like you're literally just saying, wait, I want to say something. Soy Pill, it sounds like your entire argument is that money is fungible. And like, yeah, that's true. But like, I feel like that's different than directly funding propaganda, right? Like, yes, I agree that money is fungible. And so if like Elon gets a grant from something else and then uses that money, sure.
Jimmy Kimmel is propaganda? Really?
No, I think it's a comedy show that is very slanted left, but propaganda is not what I would call it.
That's what propaganda is. He's clearly pushing a political agenda.
I think that's stretching the definition of propaganda.
It's not a problem.
I think when I think propaganda, fair enough, in certain examples you could call this propaganda, but I think I would consider this very different from trying to specifically push a specific political message and maybe deceiving or limiting the scope of what that is, and not a person who is
having an opinion. Prop. I'll agree there.
Okay, wait. Do we agree that
some of it is
Jimmy Kimmel is seeking to get people to vote for the Democrats?
I mean,
what is
the fringe vaccine dance?
What is propaganda? Is anyone who promotes the Democratic Party, is that propaganda?
I think anyone who is explicitly seeking in a partisan way to get people to vote a particular direction is someone who is an example of someone who's pushing a political agenda. If the context is you're getting paid by the government to push a political agenda.
Once again, they're not getting paid. It's subsidies. It's different.
In the same way, I think that like there is a difference
between getting paid. That's the same
thing. No, it's not.
Subsidies absolutely getting paid.
Jimmy Kimmel's not paid by the government. Jimmy Kimmel is paid by a corporation that is paid by the government, which is not the same thing. Just to be clear. Second of all, if he has a political message and everything encompassed under a person with a political agenda is propaganda, then I guess that's your definition. That's incredibly
No. That's, to be clear, that's not what I said. I said that if you are getting paid by the government in order to push a political agenda, that's an example of propaganda. In the same way that I think VOA is propaganda, I think Al Jazeera is propaganda. That's different than something being done on Fox or CNN. Right?
Having a political ideology and being a TV show host doesn't make you a propagandist because you lean a certain way automatically, especially if you're going to make the caveat of you're getting paid to do this. That's not the reason he's getting paid. He's getting paid to host a comedy show. Just because he has a political leaning.
Wait. Yes, it is absolutely. Wait. It is absolutely the case. It is absolutely the case that if every single host of ABC is exclusively across the board, every single one of them with any reasonable slot is trying to get people to vote for the Democrats, that it is obviously a prerequisite to have the position that Jimmy Kimmel has, that you want people to vote for the Democrats, right? That is very different in the case of ABC than it would be on Fox or CNN. Because one of them is getting $1 billion subsidy from the government and the
Oh, is it me? Did I die?
No.
I think everyone was stun-locked. No. So
I stun-locked them.
Yeah. No, hold on.
No, everyone was stun-locked about how your mic cut
out,
bro.
Yeah. Oh shit! Really? Again?
Hold on, just real quick. You understand that I can point to an equivalent on the right that is also publicly paid for, even though it's not paid for, subsidized in the same way, and that's the entirety of AM radio, which again, the reason why we don't have the fairness doctrine anymore is because Reagan got rid of it because the AM radio shows didn't want that shit anymore because they wanted to push the right stuff. Like you had the Rush Limbaugh show, you had Glenn Beck, you had all these guys who made their start on the right-wing radio circuit, the AM circuit. They were all getting government subsidies like this, right? So when you say, well, only the left has this government subsidies that they're getting, that's just not true.
Wick, what would you
How many
guess?
AM?
I don't know this answer either, but what would you guess they were getting in subsidies versus these like cable news giant billion-dollar corporations? Like, do you
I
think
have
Not a
no
good
idea.
metric to measure because
feel like
AM is a lot
comparable.
cheaper to
Herring
maintain,
to-
but
I feel like
reaches
this
more
is a red
people, and the
herring.
message is way bigger. But
How is
it's
that a
like-
red herring?
Because it's like the topic.
You
is
don't
like
think the amount of money?
what you're nitpicking at this point to get away from the obvious discretions of Trump. Like that's what we're talking about.
I'll admit of the indiscretions of Trump. I'm very open with that. Like I'm incredibly open with that. But
I think
these are
Confluence, the
case that
issue
both
is that
Confluence and
you
I are
could spend a
making pretty
lot
clearly.
less money because it's cost a lot less to maintain AM radio and still reach the exact same amount of people, if not more, depending on what your message is. So, like, if you're worried about
That's not a
propaganda,
subsidy. That's just being good at your job.
Well, hold on.
Does anyone actually think
receiving
AM
the
radio is
money.
reaching the same amount of
I'm
people
sorry.
as cable?
Hold on.
No, I'm not
So,
saying that's the
when
case.
I
That's
mentioned
not a
AM
subsidy.
radio, all
Hold
of
on.
y'all
I think we
went,
can measure
"What?"
this. I think there are
I'm
more
sorry,
people
I'm sorry,
who
I'm
listen
sorry.
to AM radio
Mr.
than listen to
Beast-
Jimmy Kimmel. Yes.
Yeah,
No, but
Mr.
I'm
Beast
saying
gets
cable
watched-
versus
wait,
AM.
I'm sorry.
That's a false comparison, Wick. I'm saying all of AM versus all of cable. Who do you think tunes in more? Obviously, it's cable, right?
I don't know if that's true either because I
actually
know a
don't know
lot
if
of
that's
I
true.
know a lot
Um,
of jobs and businesses that have the AM radio on
Okay.
all the time, fucking all the
This
time.
isn't relevant to Soy's claim there. Soy, you just said that there are more people who watch AM radio or listen rather to AM.
No,
What did he say?
what I said
did you
was,
say?
to be clear, is that if you're narrowing down hyper specifically and saying, well, which one gets more money? Obviously, you could potentially have a bigger reach and get the same amount of message out. Potentially, I don't know if this is the case. I don't know the exact numbers by spending a lot less money because AM radio has a lot lower of an overhead than cable news network.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. The issue with that, though, is that we're not talking about who has more reach because Mr. Beast has more reach than any of these people. But Mr. Beast is not getting a massive subsidy from the government, right?
The point is the amount of money
there's
you're
not
getting
there's not money
not-
on the scale to try to fuck over one side or if
Why do you
Mr.
say
Beast
try
decided
to
tomorrow
fuck over?
now he's
Do you think
ultra rabid
the
socialist.
federal government is trying to fuck over the right by giving these people FCC broadcasting licenses?
Yes, I think there are billions of dollars
Absolutely.
towards the propaganda of one
Absolutely.
side of the party line against
How do
the
you
other.
not
So we
see
should
that,
take away
brother?
all AM
Even Jason's shaking
broadcasting
his other jaw.
licenses as well. Yeah.
You think that's why they do it?
I
Just
think
to
that
be
there
clear,
are billions
I
of
don't buy into
dollars
the grand
that are
conspiracy
going
of
to
the government trying to
ABC
do that kind of shit.
and NBC and CBS that are not going to conservative equivalents, and obviously that does have the impact of billions of dollars benefiting
You
the
can
left.
say the billions of dollars are disproportionately favored to people that are reporting with a liberal bias. Obviously this is objectively true. I'm asking you if your claim is that the reason that they give this money is to spread left-wing propaganda. Like the federal government is on board with this.
The federal government has been allowing them to rake in billions of dollars of subsidies for decades at this point. And to be clear, most of that time, they were not clearly of the left.
I don't think you're understanding my question, Quibbles.
For most of that time, they were not clearly of the left. But now they are clearly of the left. So since they are now of the left, I think
When did it change?
impact of the decision...
They do it in the first place.
Yeah, the impact of the decision when they are approximately of the center is different than the impact of this decision when they are clearly of the left. Now that they are clearly of the left, to continue the policy is to be a subsidy to the left. While they were of the center, it was not.
Do you think they should
right?
also reduce, get rid of these subsidies for AM radio now that it's disproportionately overwhelmingly right wing?
No, because AM radio is not a real number. Number one, and number two,
number.
there is a comparable thing, which is NPR.
Voice of America
which is clearly
like
the left.
Hundreds of millions of or something weekly listeners.
NPR gets subsidies from the government. It is not a substantial amount, right? AM radio gets a subsidy from the government. It is not a substantial amount. If you're asking me in my perfect utopia whether either one of them...
Why does the amount matter? Doesn't it matter how much they're spreading the message?
Because we're talking about a thumb on the scale. And so the number of dollars from the government is the thumb.
No,
we're not asking
the thumb is whether or not
the left is winning or the right is winning. We're asking where the thumb is.
No, Quibbles. If the government
I'll
said,
tell you where the
"Hey,
thumb is.
you need this $10,"
The thumb
or you
is
cannot-
down,
No,
Wick!
Listen,
The thumb is down! This is bad!
Quibbles. The amount does not matter. The amount matters only insofar as it is the thing that is distinguishing whether or not you can continue to broadcast. So if these people have this big overhead and they're saying, we're going to take this away and you won't be able to broadcast anymore, that's the thumb. If you have an AM radio station that costs $100,000 a year and they're saying,
So
hey, we're going to take away $50,000 in funding, which is a fraction of billions, that's still a thumb on the scale to the exact same extent because you will not be able to broadcast anymore.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Obviously, Joe Rogan is perfectly capable of broadcasting from his little studio and, blah, blah, with his 4 days. Okay. If the government decided to give $1 billion to Joe Rogan and then he happened to become way, way, way more rabidly pro-Trump than he already is, would you consider that a problem?
If the government gave $1 billion to him for no reason?
Yeah. Would you consider that a problem?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you, even though he's already of doing his show without the $1 billion subsidy, you still think it's a problem, right?
I would say if for no reason they were just going to give him a subsidy and it clearly influenced his message, that's a much different thing than these things existing prior to any other, first of all, we still haven't shown anything about the federal government having the intention of spreading AM radio right-wing propaganda or, FCC broadcast left-wing propaganda. They're just doing this as part of the structure of what the FCC does. But even if they were, this has nothing to do with the fact that now they're primarily more left-wing slanting than before when they were granting them the license.
There is a $1 billion subsidy. That the $1 billion subsidy is a result. It used to be centrist and is no longer centrist. Is a different way of getting to the same. But it is the same outcome as the thing I'm describing. Right?
No,
that Jimmy Kimmel sucks at his job compared to Joe Rogan.
You're cutting out again, brother.
Mike is driving me insane.
And Quibbles, we're so deep in this point, you again are making a bunch of arguments that the people that are making these decisions aren't even fucking making. If you were to say, hey, Donald Trump had this very nuanced point about the transformation of these 3 networks and how they've transformed more into these left-wing things, and that there's this federal mandate to make them do that, and that's why we need to maybe reevaluate these things, and not, hey, they're covering me negatively, and I think that we should reevaluate their licenses.
Yeah, I think
we're so far off in the weeds in your ultimate good faith interpretation of what this fucking retard
breaking news. Breaking news. And this might play into the thing.
Rock at the Oscars.
This might play into the topic at hand. The former FBI director James Comey has just been indicted by the Department of Justice.
By who?
The Department of Justice.
By the DOJ.
Oh God! For what?
Lying to Congress.
Right. But when we talk about weaponizing, government organizations and entities in order to punish people for their opinions and speech.
Hold on.
Right?
You supported Bannon being locked up.
Did I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did, buddy.
What did Bannon do? I don't even remember what
Bannon refused to testify in front of Congress.
Is that what
he was dodging subpoenas?
Yeah, but that's illegal. What did?
So is lying to Congress, buddy. When you're
what
under
was
oath,
what was the claimed lie?
I haven't read the whole thing, but
I mean, sure. Look, if James Comey did something that was illegal, sure,
yes, he did something illegal.
But
supposedly, that's what he's indicted.
The reason that they weren't he wasn't indicted previously to this until Trump, fired the people who wouldn't bring the charges, right? Is because they didn't think they had enough evidence to convict him.
Well, I guess we'll find out if they do.
Well, so the deal is the real thing of it all is what is it? The limits, the time limits. I don't know.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations was about to run out, and that's why supposedly Trump was pushing it so far. I think they had 3 or 4 days left before the statutes ran out. So,
and Wick, I don't know if you knew this, but James Comey had a high capacity clipazine that said anti-Trump on it in ballpoint pens. So it's pretty.
Well, he also
he did the 8647
that Instagram of 8647. So I mean,
yeah, is that prosecutable?
Yes, any threat against president is.
Hold on, you think that him posting an Instagram post in seashells or whatever, rocks, I forget what it was.
It was seashells.
Saying
yes.
8647, that was a threat to the president of the United States.
It can be interpreted as that,
that's
yes.
incitement to violence, yeah.
So
how is it not?
because
wanna hear
this
what
was
you
used
say. How
by
is
the
it
Trump
not?
administration, 46, right? Not the
Let's-
Trump administration, but many
what
Trumpian
does 86
influencers
mean?
as a
It
call
means
to impeach him.
To kill
Yeah.
someone.
No, not to kill, to impeach.
That's what 86 means.
8 miles
86
out,
means
6 feet
kill.
down, buddy.
Yeah, that's what 86 means. Anyone who says otherwise either is ignorant or bad.
Okay.
No,
well,
this is
it's-
how
it's-
it's been
wait,
used
it's
for
always
literal
meant.
years. And again,
wait,
because this isn't a new
we've had a whole
thing that
panel
people
on this.
said.
Are we going to
This-
relitigate it? Like obviously, can we just we all live in reality and think if it literally could only be interpreted as kill, that maybe James Comey wouldn't be so fucking stupid as to post that, and maybe he had a different interpretation of what it meant.
I
Okay,
think James
I also-
Comey is that fucking stupid, brother. Okay.
But I mean, and honestly, in common parlance, it's like to get rid of, which, like he said, impeach. It's usually like take it away. Let's get rid of it. It does not mean kill. Just
oh yeah, you say
not in
that
common
after
parlance.
two assassination attempts, and then you just post that, and you just mean get rid of him in a peaceful way. Like, come
But
on.
they've been
I thought
look. There was
Soy Pill,
merch.
you
I can
said
find
we can't just look at the
8646
current
merch.
moment.
Right? I can find 8646 T-shirts, hats,
I would
Again,
say that's
buttons,
fucking wrong.
bumper stickers.
Y'all are saying that we can't just look at the current moment. We have to look at history. Trump was two attempted assassinations.
Okay,
and
that
then
doesn't change the meaning of the
three.
term.
That doesn't change what 86 means.
86
Yeah, like
mean-
saying we need to get rid of Trump could reasonably be interpreted as I want someone to kill him, but that doesn't mean we, one, shouldn't say it post 2 assassination attempts, and 2 should like automatically interpret that as the worst possible interpretation.
am
Now,
I
if that-
wrong? Am I
I
wrong?
don't
Well,
know
no,
that
this
guys,
is. Hold on, I just
guys,
real quick
no.
before you call Confluence. I'll give it to you. This is the dishonesty on the other side, in my opinion, right? Where they will. It's rules for thee, not for me, right? Where they can say it all the time, 8646, we need to get rid of Biden. They can have pictures of him hogtied on the back of their truck. And that's all just jokes. That's all just memes. No, we're not really serious. No, this isn't a threat. This is just us calling to impeach it and get rid of him through legal means. But as soon as Comey posts a fucking seashell picture, right? Suddenly, we know he must mean this. There's no other
Rick,
possible
come on.
interpretation or
Rick,
mean. Now we have to
come
get
on.
him. Now we have
So
to
you're
call for his
comparing-
arrest.
you're comparing
Now we
a
have to
random
put him in
guy-
jail.
A random guy with a fucking bumper sticker or some shit. You're comparing that with James fucking Comey. I mean, again, the position
They both have
matters,
freedom
right?
of speech, baby.
But it's
That's
literally
America.
Yeah, but what did he say? Okay, for those who think James Comey meant something else, what was his defense? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. He said, I had no idea what this meant. I just found these neat seashells. The guy is a retard, okay? He doesn't know what he's doing. Because why would he do that? He posts this and then he backpedals and says, oh, I don't know. I just found
I
these
think the
neat
level
seashells
of
on the
uncharitability
beach.
is always is when it's on site. Just the same way we were talking about what Kimmel said. You're like, no, we know he meant it was a guy on the right. And even like when Soy is giving you like, I could see how somebody may interpret it that way. Like we'll understand like how reasonable minds can disagree, but you're like, no, he said let's kill Trump.
No,
It's just
no,
like-
brother, that's not fair. I said the same thing. I said there's a small chance that you could take a literal interpretation, but my argument is that 90+% of people who heard what Kimmel
No,
said
that's
interpreted it the
just
way that
bullshit.
I'm saying.
I guarantee you it's like 50-50, and I guarantee you it splits exactly along partisan lines.
I don't.
To be clear,
I don't
he didn't
believe
just say
that.
they're
I
just
do not
seashells. He
believe
said,
that.
Comey said,
Well,
I
you'd be
didn't
wrong.
realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. Like, this is not, it wasn't like, oh, they're just seashells, I'm retarded. Like, he very clearly either, one, maybe he was dog whistling, it's very possible, I'll acknowledge that, but two, probably said, let's get rid of the guy who fired me for investigating him, I want to get rid of him, which is a completely reasonable thing for him to post. So,
Well,
You
so
think that was
I'll
a
be the
reasonable
most
thing
charitable.
for him to post?
I'll be the most charitable. Honestly, when it comes to this, I think he put it out as a little snarky deal. And when people started pointing out, hey, you're kind of threatening a president, he went, oh, yeah, I should probably take that down. So it was the most charitable thing I could say would be like a misspeak. It was, oh, I put this out and I didn't even think about the implications fully. And like,
which is what he
I think
said,
that's
and
the
he
best
deleted
thing.
it, and he could be lying,
Yeah.
but like,
he could be
Wow.
lying, but he is indicted for lying to Congress, which is a felony. We'll see how it
What
pans
was the
out.
lie that they're saying that he said?
He supposedly lied under oath like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, about what? That was my correct question.
I think it said, you mean like what he said exactly?
Well, no,
Rick, you're
what
the one
like what
giving
is
us
the
breaking news.
accusation?
You tell us.
Right. What is the accusation that they're making?
To be fair, I
we
linked
should
to
all
this
speak very
story.
confidently on
About
this
the
thing
Russian
that Rick told us happened and we didn't know about before that.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
because this is something that they've been pushing for a while, right? Like there's certain elements within the
Well,
Trump
there's a
admin.
lot of people that are actually being pushed right now for indictment. Adam Schiff is going to be indicted for possibly leaking classified materials. Yeah, there's a whole slew of people
Okay.
that are.
What do you
about to
wait?
be
I don't know
indicted.
why. I don't know why we're talking about Comey. Can we get back to the topic?
Well, because it has to do
Um,
with freedom of speech
yeah.
as well, and
No, I get that. I get that. It
Actually,
has
no, it
something to do with
doesn't.
freedom of speech.
Well,
It really
yeah,
doesn't,
no, I don't
because
think
lying to
if he
Congress
committed
is not freedom of
yeah,
speech.
if he
Okay,
perjured himself,
but
then that's
But
Yeah,
but
I don't
hold on,
think, like-
but hold on, because the counter argument is that he didn't actually lie, and we know he didn't actually lie, but they're using this as a pretense because he's critical of the president and he prosecuted
well, we
him
need to
before.
know what the lie was, and none of us know what he's
Well,
indicted on.
It's
What did
like
he
the
perjure
campaign of
himself on?
retribution, right?
I know, but we'd have to know specifics.
I just don't feel like I'm comfortable,
What is he?
like-
That's
accused
fine.
of
No,
being
we don't have to.
wrong
We don't have
But-
to focus on this. We don't have to focus on this because again,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what the statement
Okay.
is either that he's accused
Soy,
of.
I have a question for you. Let's
Uh,
zoom out. You have granted
We're zooming
that
out
there
so
is a
much.
multi-billion.
we zoomed out so far.
Where I can't
Yeah,
even see.
we've
My eyes
zoomed
aren't
out.
this good. How much more are we
We're
zooming out?
incredibly
No.
zoomed out. That's why my face is like this. Okay. Okay.
Using that as
There's
a
a
thumbnail from now on.
multi-billion-dollar annual subsidy
Mhm.
to progressive media in the context of ABC from the government. Do you think that there is an appropriate way to stop doing that?
Appropriate way to stop funding them because they're too partisan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Or
for
to make
example,
them
the
stop
fact that
being
they've been
partisan.
trying to get back this fairness doctrine would be totally fine. If they're like, hey, we think this is too partisan, we might want to reintroduce this thing that was revoked decades ago, and we want to bring this back. That would be a totally fine way. And that is very, by the way, I don't think you're some like sycophantic Trump supporter. I think you are diving into the most good faith interpretation from one of the most bad faith people on the planet right now and saying, well,
okay.
what if this happened? Sure, there are good ways this could happen. But when the president is coming out and saying, I don't like how they're always saying bad things about me and I think they should have their licenses looked at, that is not what I think
I get
should
that.
be
I
done.
get
And is
that.
very clearly not some sort of thing about, well, it's gotten too progressive because of XYZ. Like the fact that Brendan Carr wrote in Project 2025, this is a left-wing propaganda weaponized thing, and we need to use the FCC to crack down on them is fucking insane. And the idea that this is like anything other than like a unilateral consolidation of power is just wild to me.
So I think there's two things going on here. One thing that's going on is just the same kind of mob boss bullshit that was happening in the context of Kamala Harris, Warren, and Tim Walz, and all of these who are desperate to try to against Spotify and Joe Rogan, whoever the progressive, person is, right? And that's definitely part of that. Are you serious? Is it happening again?
Yes,
It was.
yes.
Oh!
Quibbles, next time before you come on, we're going to make sure that this is fixed.
You got to get it. You got to
This
do.
is-
You
this
got to
is
get
not
do.
okay.
Wick, at
This
some
is
point, can we
terrible.
talk about the arrest thing?
Which one?
About
Oh, yeah,
how
make
I
your
said
take.
that
Yeah,
people-
just make your take, and
Can
I'm
I-
sure
can
that'll
I do
spark
my take?
discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, because I want to know who agrees with me or who doesn't, because I think that there are certain levels, this is a topic change, but certain levels of people that have been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death that probably would qualify as incitement to imminent lawless action. And I want to hear, I guess, all of you guys, especially the people on the left. And I want to read an example, and I want to know if you guys think this would qualify, because I'm not saying every celebration should qualify as arrest, but I want to read one. So I'm surprised that y'all didn't get rid of him sooner, and I'm surprised that you guys aren't getting rid of more people. Don't stop with him. Don't let him be the end. Get rid of them all. His wife deserves to go. Y'all keep talking about his wife and kids, but they need to go too because they're carrying on that mentality and that lineage. Like, get rid of the whole family. I'm so sorry. Why'd you guys stop with him? To me, that meets all of the criteria defined under Brandenburg versus Ohio in 1969 of what qualifies.
I think that's
Do you
pretty
think that
clear,
is
Confluence.
illegal?
They're saying you should kill his family. That's fucking insane, dude.
Okay,
Like,
so
what?
so do we all agree that is arrestable? Yeah.
But that's not even like
Pretty
celebrating his death. That's like, I think you should go do more murders. Like, this is
Yeah.
obviously.
It's
I
pretty
just want to make sure that's not like you guys. None of us think that's First Amendment protected.
To be clear, it is First Amendment protected. It's gross,
What?
but the First Amendment
No, it
protects free
isn't.
speech.
No,
because
it's not. I just
Hold
on,
quoted the
it's not
Brandenburg
imminent?
case.
It's not imminent, right? And it's not
It is
likely to
imminent.
incite the action.
How is it? It's
You
both
should go
imminent and
kill more
likely.
people. How is that not
Yeah,
inciting
go
the
kill
action?
Okay, so
his
the
family.
Brandenburg
It's
case,
specific
just so
imminent.
because you guys
She
don't
said
know,
you should
apparently.
have
Do you
done
know
it
what the
sooner,
Brandenburg
too,
case was
Wick.
decided
Come
on? Do you know what was said by the person that was being charged?
No.
Okay. That's why
I
you
just
don't know.
what
He was saying
I know what
we
the
should
case
go out and
decided.
kill all these people.
But she gave specifics. She said kill the wife and the kids.
Yeah, but there's no time. There's no there's not imminent. It just doesn't meet the
Oh,
standards.
so she had to wait. So you
Wick,
think
come on.
that it's only illegal if you say
It doesn't have to have
on
a-
like,
I don't
Just
think.
on
I
September
know.
the 20th,
I know the
so you
law.
So you know, Wick, she had to say on September 29th, we're going to go kill Erica Kirk. And otherwise, it's totally
Jesus.
legal?
Kind
You
of,
believe
yeah.
that? No, that's fucking retarded,
It's
brother.
just the law. If you have a problem with
That's
it,
not the law.
No.
That's not the law.
don't
it has
know
to.
what-
Okay, it has to be likely to insult imminent lawless action.
Action, and it's
a
likely
tweet
to
or an
incite or
Instagram
produce such
post
action.
by a nobody is not likely to do that.
I
do
don't
you
know.
think that's
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I
Rick.
saw some nobodies do some things.
Okay, I'm just
I don't know.
I'm just
It's
telling you the law.
It
Okay,
doesn't
you
matter
can.
how
I feel like even the
relevant
leftists
they
agree
are.
with me here, Wick.
Okay,
I
but
feel
you're-
like
They're wrong. I don't understand, right?
I mean, it's imminent. It's likely. I mean, you post this, it gets a lot of retweets, it gets a lot of traction. People see this. People are calling for more violence. People are celebrating violence. And then someone is saying Erica Kirk needs to be taken out, which isn't the only person who said that, by the way. A lot of people have said that. That to me is imminent, likely, it has intent, it meets all three criteria.
But it doesn't meet the likely. It doesn't meet the likely. It doesn't mean.
How is it not likely? And do we have to wait till Erica Kirk is shot in the head for it to be
Of
likely?
course not, but it's not likely in that, like, if you were there at the time and she was going, or whoever posted this, right, was there at the time and saying, hey, this person, you need to go, and there she is, take the shot, that qualifies, right?
Oh, come on.
saying
No, people
this should
in
have
charge
happened
for so much
sooner?
less. Wait.
Hold on,
Everyone should
name
go
one.
get his family?
The freaking RuneScape guy that got like in jail for like 14 years. I can't remember his name. He made some vague threat about like school shooting. There was no actionable stuff. He was playing RuneScape. He made an off-color joke. He ended up in jail for like 14 years.
Let me see this
For
guy.
instance-
Look, all
Does
I
no
know
one
is
does no one remember this case? It was like a huge case.
A
He
guy
got out of
got
jail
put in
like a
jail
couple
for
years
a
ago.
freaking meme on Twitter. So I mean,
Yeah, like this is not an uncommon thing for this charge to be levied against people.
Okay, let me look. Because I'm seeing a 6 years. Is that the guy?
It could be, yeah.
Okay.
And it was
so
literally
which
just he
change you
said
possibly misspoke on
he
the
said, like,
amount of time.
don't go to
No,
school
I'm
tomorrow
I
or
just want to make sure I
something.
got the right case, and maybe there was two, right?
And it wasn't actionable. It wasn't. There was no intent behind. He said it on RuneScape. It was obviously just like
I'm
an
trying to
edgy joke that
see
shouldn't
what
have been
he
said.
said. Okay.
I just think it's funny. You were like, let's ask the left, and then you triggered the moderator card.
Well, no, because again,
we were like, yeah, that's
that
probably
speech
illegal.
is not
Yeah, that-
illegal. You can say
everyone's
it's
like, yeah,
gross,
that's
but
probably
you can
bad.
actually say it.
You can't. You in fact cannot, Wick.
Has she been arrested?
I think they're looking into her actually.
Okay. I'm trying to see what he said because I'm not seeing.
Yeah, this might be a hard thing to find.
Whatever. Continue with your talk while
Wick,
I'm
if you're so
looking
sure,
it
why
up.
don't you try it?
Sure. Why don't
Yeah,
I talk? I
honestly
think.
gonna
Don't do it,
suggest-
Wick. Don't do it.
Hold on, because there's also a thing. Hold on. Brandenburg isn't the only case in question. You have the Watts test. Do you guys know what that is?
I'm not
Okay.
as legal. as
So the
that.
Watts test came about because someone, right, at a political event said, the first thing I'm going to do if they give me a gun is shoot this guy. I think it was JFK or Nixon or someone. I think it was Nixon. The first thing I'm going to do if they give me the gun is shoot Nixon. Okay? He was, again, the case decided in his favor that did not count as incitement to violence.
No,
Even
Wick,
though he
Wick,
said,
okay,
I'm
Wick,
going to
Wick,
get a
question.
gun. When they give me this
Wick.
gun, I'm going to shoot this particular person.
Wick, question. Because to me, that sounds like that would be a case of a true threat. And I feel like that's different than incitement to violence.
Okay, it wasn't a true threat
he
because
wasn't
of the context
prosecuted
in which
under
it was
true
said.
threat, so
Right? That's the
No, I
Watts
know, but I'm
test.
saying
The
but
people
I'm saying,
who were listening to it, who the intended audience was, would they take that as a serious call?
yeah, but from
And it was decided in the context of that case, it was not.
I don't know this case, Wick, but you're saying that the guy said, I will do this. That's not saying you guys should go and do this. That's incitement when you tell other people to go and kill.
But the Watts
your
test
political
applies. Was this person, right, is their intended audience likely to take them seriously?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, the courts will decide that, and I don't think
the
it's the case.
I guess I asked the leftists on the panel.
In that. With that in itself, I kind of see what he's saying. I think that makes that does change things a little bit, in my opinion.
Well, in what way? You don't think people would take that seriously?
Depending on the person, no. I know that's where did this person say this?
On TikTok or Instagram, I think. I have the video. I don't know if that helps, but I have the video. She's deleted the video, because she doesn't want to get.
Was she really big prior?
She's not huge, but I mean, it's hard to tell because now I'm looking at it and she's got a lot of attention now, but I don't know if that attention stemmed from this post, and I can't find the original because she deleted it.
Huge is even a question. Like, what do you consider huge? Because, like, some people would consider yourself as a huge creator. Other people may consider Soy Pill a huge creator. Some people may consider Wick. Y'all have different sub counts and everything else, and no one considers me a huge creator, which is amazing. But yeah, it's.
If you don't call me huge, you're going to give me body dysmorphia.
Oh, so Pillal said he was going to acquire guns, Molotov cocktails, and pot bombs in order to reenact the Columbine school shooting at Oxford High School. So he had that's a little bit different, right?
No, it's not different. He did he not, Wick? I might be misremembering, but he didn't even live anywhere close to there, right? So there's no actionable. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Because I haven't looked at this case in a long time. But he was states away, and he's saying the next day he's gonna do this. It's absolutely not actionable. He didn't have a plane ticket. He didn't have Molotov cocktails. That's what they use when they're discerning a true threat. Do you have means? Do you have motive? Do you have the ability to carry it out? And this guy had none of it. He just said stuff in a RuneScape chat log and ended up in jail for several years.
Since we didn't prep for this, Wick, can we all just agree that you shouldn't do that?
Yeah, that's bad. It's immoral to do that.
We all agree it's bad. Disavow. We all disavow.
Now we can all get back to disagree.
Oh, and he also pled guilty to it. So I mean,
well, yeah, because he knew he was fucked.
I just totally just want to go to the bar and fucking vibe out, man. Fuck.
Okay, but
let's go.
Let's get back to the topic at hand. Sorry, it's my fault. I got a little distracted. Do we think that the FCC, right, and Trump in general, the administration, is engaged in a threat to free speech currently in America? Why or why not? And we're going to start with Logix this time. Go ahead.
I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, I do. I do think that's what's happening right now. We've just seen too many instances of it, and Trump isn't even scared to admit it. He went on Truth Social and pretty much was like, yeah, well, let's just go after them since they brought Jimmy Kimmel back. Let's sue them and see how much money we can make from them. So it's I don't know why anybody is trying to cape for it instead of fighting for it. I mean, even Ted Cruz and Candace Owens, God knows how much I hate her. It's just a lot of people on the right are not standing for this as well. So it's just why even fight this? It doesn't benefit anybody. I don't know why anybody would fight to defend it in any way, shape, or form at this point.
Oh, and to be clear, they also found files on this guy's computer that they arrested for how to make bombs, and also searches about how to go about killing.
Stay on topic.
Bro, I too have the anarchist cookbook. Moving on.
We all have the anarchist cookbook.
Okay, it's different, but go ahead, Jason, Aircraft Sparky, please.
All right. Is what's going on in the administration an existential threat to the First Amendment? Existential, no. Crop dusting some kind of authoritative vibes that I'm not actually cool with, yes. But it's no different than when Joe Biden talked about what an extremist I was, because I am a Jan 6er. It's no different. Oh yeah.
Wait, you were there?
You were there?
Yes, sir. I was.
Were you part of it?
I was there. I was there filming retards, man.
Were you inside of the
No, I did not go
Capitol?
inside the Capitol. When I saw them go in, I'm like, nope, not going that far. I did hear the shot
to
kill
him,
Ashton
Chad. You
Babbitt.
can save him. He's savable.
But no, I was there.
Yeah.
Look, it's
Never thought I'd meet one in the wild.
Yeah, wow.
oh, dude,
This is
dude,
an
no.
honor.
We're fun people, most of us. There's some weirdos out there. Don't get me wrong, but there's I think this has been a trend that has been going on through multiple administrations, where they have used the power of government to do a chilling effect, to stifle speech, things
Has it
like
been
that.
because I don't like criticisms of me?
I don't know the motivations of every administrative action that's happened, but I do know that for the past like 20 years, we have seen the weaponization of government against the people over speech. Trump is a little bit more out in the open about it, but we can actually point to incidences, at least from Clinton all the way to present, where this has happened. I can't really say anything about Bush Senior or Reagan because I don't remember enough about that. I was too young to care. But yeah, I joined the military under Clinton, for Christ's sake. So I'm the oldest guy here. Wick's probably the closest to me in age. But you know, I remember things, and I remember it in every administration going, that's getting a little close, you know? So it's more in your face with Trump because Trump's a bombastic
I think
jackass.
that's right. I think that's right. I just think that there's two conversations that we need to be able to parse out, and I don't know how much of this I'm repeating and how much of this I'm saying for the first time that is hearable given my mic quality. But like, it is different to be talking about the mafioso bullshit that both parties are guilty of and massive subsidies to the tune of billions of dollars. And so if we're going to deal with these massive subsidies problem, there has to be some like process of recognizing, one, there is this massive subsidy, and therefore, two, we need to end the subsidy, and therefore, three, either ABC, these companies need to become no longer partisan, or they need to become no longer subsidized. Right?
Hey, before anyone else goes, can I push back on this real quick?
Yeah, please go for it.
Please, I would like to keep these goals, because the reason why, because we're trying to keep the hegemonic cultural powerhouse that the United States is. Now, what I would like to see is something going more towards a what's his name, Lenny? Who was before Jimmy? Not Jimmy Carter. Frick. I'm trying to think of the old late night host. You didn't know their politics. Like, I don't mind, dude. Take shots at the right all day long, please. Okay, some people deserve it. Have you seen Eddie Munster? I mean, Ted Cruz. For Christ's sakes, there's some
Okay, so Jason wants to
politics
get
on both
to-
sides, but the deal is, I would like to see where we don't really know the personal politics of these hosts that are on broadcast air.
Are you talking about
So
Leno?
Jason's answer is like,
Yeah,
what
Jay
he wants
Leno,
to get to.
Jay Leno, and
Fine.
before
Letterman.
him,
Letterman, yeah.
Johnny
Okay, so
Carson.
Jason wants to get them to become
Johnny Carson,
bland
yeah.
centrists. Jason wants ABC to be filled with bland centrists. What do other people want?
They were not
do we want
bland,
them to
dude.
become fine? They don't have to be bland, but they have to be centrist, and we can never know their political opinions. Do other people want that, or do we just not want to be subsidizing them to the tune of billions of dollars? Because my answer is just like,
I'm fine with
I
them
take
being
either
partisan and
option,
subsidizing
actually.
them. I don't have a problem
I'd take
with this.
either.
I don't care about the
Yeah.
substance.
Okay, Soy, what do you want?
I think the way it's set up now, where we have these licenses and you're calling it, propaganda, when I'm saying, hey, like, it seems like the government is giving funding to people that may or may not ask for it, for the ability to broadcast, and whether or not you like their political opinions shouldn't really have an effect of whether or not you give them those subsidies.
I'm paying their salary.
Okay.
I don't give a shit what's happening on Newsmax because I'm not paying the Newsmax salary.
You subsidize.
Well,
Now we're back to this. You subsidize so many things you probably don't agree with, and you can say, I don't want to subsidize those things.
That's
but
what I'm saying. I'm saying there are lots of things that I pay for with my government tax dollars, and I'd rather not do that. One of the things I think is very reasonable is I don't want to be doing partisan propaganda for one side or the other. That seems like a bad thing to be subsidizing.
You're paying for. Now, if you're saying, like for example, if you say, I don't like that my money goes to NPR because NPR has a very left-wing slant, you could be upset about that. But like, what is your proposed solution to national public radio?
My proposed solution is to not be giving billions of dollars to Disney, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, in order to get them to give clearly biased propaganda.
Do you know why we give them billions of dollars?
Let's just not give them
his
billions.
implication
That's
is the
my answer.
reason we give them billions of dollars is to spread left-wing propaganda and not we
It
give
doesn't
them
matter
billions
if
of
that's
dollars.
the reason. The usage of that money is propagandistic directly.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the result, right?
I mean, becoming the cultural hegemonic
Yeah, the result
leader
is
of the
it's not
world
working. I mean,
is
the
kind of
right
a big
side of
thing.
The Republican Party runs everything.
Logix, wait, Logix, how is it not working? How's it not
The Republican
working?
Party runs everything right now.
I know, but you don't think the media is like succeeding in its like left wing endeavors, like for real?
It didn't win them the election. Although the complaint from the Trump admin
No,
is,
they tried
look,
so hard.
first of all, the
judge
complaint that they
corruption
filed
based on
legally said
whether-
this was the greatest like victory and achievement of all humankind, despite the media's bias against me, and that's why we have to go after you, or some crazy shit like that. But the idea that it's like, well, this is the thing that's like, what?
Well, so Reagan
It's still
went up against the
corruption,
same.
whether or not you succeed in your goals.
It's corruption?
Yes,
Reagan
to
went
give
against the same
billions of
media
subsidies,
slant
dollars of
and still got a
subsidies.
49 state.
To give a
49 or
billion
48
wait,
state
no,
landslide.
Quibbles.
One
Quibbles,
party.
If the current Trump admin is giving billions of dollars and they're still against him, how is it corruption?
It's
By the
corruption
way-
because he's seeking to stop it, and people like you are seeking to stop them from stopping it. They're giving
No,
billions
where's
of
the
dollars, and
corruption
you're trying
coming
to say,
from?
no, they can't stop
Hold on.
giving the billions of dollars in
Hold on.
subsidies to a clearly biased network.
You're really pulling the trigger too quick here, and I'll explain to you why. We haven't passed a budget in over 10 years, okay? We've been going off of CRs for that fucking long, okay? There has not been a budget in 10 fucking years. So the spending that happened last year is the same spending that happened 9 years ago, okay? So you've got to understand, no one has passed a fucking budget. So what you're bitching about is something that's over a decade-long problem because Congress doesn't do their fucking job. So if you want that, if you want that change to happen, you need to actually contact your congressman and say, look, don't vote yes on the next CR. Let the government shut down and force them to do their fucking job. Did I just stun lock him?
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not
Logic,
sure.
shit.
Stun locked. Okay. Okay. I don't know. I think it's going to be a very bad day if we give the government the ability to decide who to fund and who to not fund based on their political.
Let's not fund any of them.
Huh?
Let's not fund any of them. You're not funded by the government. That's
Do you
good.
think it?
Let's
Okay,
continue
hold on.
to
Let me
not
ask
have
you a
the government
question. Hold on.
fund
Let
you.
me ask you a question. Do you think it would be appropriate for, let's say Biden was president and the Biden administration decided, we have a bunch of government funds, right, that we're going to give to companies, but we're only going to give it to companies that haven't promoted Trump. Do you think that'd be appropriate?
That would be bad.
That would be bad, yes. So when you have Trump and they only want to give funding, right, to companies
I'm sorry,
who
let's
don't
clarify.
promote
You're
the
talking
left.
about you're talking about like electrical companies, right? You're talking about like
Any kind of business. Any kind of business
He
at
said
all.
companies, bro.
Again, there's a difference in kind between the Home Depot worker and the guy who works for the Daily Wire, right? There's a difference between the guy who owns the electric company has some bias versus the guy who owns the media company has a bias and his entire job is media.
You're not going to find someone who owns a media company that doesn't have a bias.
Okay, so then let's not subsidize media companies.
Yeah, I feel like
By
that
the
does
way,
go back to his
it's not
point.
true, because historically, ABC
Okay,
was
but it's
pretty
hold
down
on,
the middle.
hold on.
I'm
But they are
just saying,
receiving.
Jay Leno
Hold on,
knew
just real
what
quick.
Jay
The
Leno
difference
thought.
is
I think Jay Leno's
the
pretty
difference
boring.
is the difference is
Yeah.
they've been receiving this funding since the 40s, and because now, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, but now because they're going against the current administration, this administration wants to cut off their funding. That is a direct violation of their freedom of speech.
Well,
But they've
wait,
also
wait.
they've
I
gotten
need
more
to ask
partisan,
this.
right?
Wait. We need to interrupt this because one, we're
Wait, hold
talking
on.
about
No,
the
no,
licensing
I
for
need to
broadcasting.
address
But
that
second of
directly.
all,
We need to zoom out.
Quibbles.
We have to zoom out.
No,
Do they
don't
even get
zoom in,
does
we need to
ABC
zoom
and
in,
NBC even
not
actually get
in.
subsidized
Zoom
by the
in.
FCC?
Hey, what you just said is crazy. What you just said is
Wait,
absolutely
Quibbles.
insane.
Quibbles.
No.
Quibbles. I'm interrupting you
Okay.
because I think
If
you
an-
might
if an
have a
airplane
misconception about how
company-
the FCC works. Do they even
No.
actually
If an
give money to
airplane
any of these
company,
podcasting
if an
stations?
airplane company for 50
Quibbles, can you
years,
answer
an
me that,
airplane
please?
company, No, I'm not answering anything until I answer.
Because
Wick.
you've been
You are
arguing with this for like an hour, and I don't even know
You
if
are
they
to be
actually
silent.
recognize
I'm
these
answering
people.
Wick.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't think you understand how it works.
If the government, no, you are to be silent. If the government has for 50 years a long-term relationship with an airplane production company, and that airplane production company all of a sudden starts making shitty airplanes or airplanes that are intended to fall out of the sky, and then the government says, hey, we liked your airplanes back when they were good airplanes, but now they suck, so we're going to not give you billions of dollars of money to get these airplanes because they're shitty airplanes. That's totally reasonable. If
Yes,
ABC
the difference. Do you know the difference?
Was
Hold on.
centrist
Which
moral
Bill of
thing?
Right? Which in the Bill of Rights? Which amendment protects airplanes companies' manufacturing?
There is
None.
There isn't.
Also, none
Which
of the
amendment
There's
protects
no
a company's
guarantee of
speech?
free speech as meaning
There's
that
no
you
amendment
get
that
billions
protects
of
the
dollars.
FCC violations, Wick.
Guarantee
Hold on.
billions of
The
dollars
amendment
from
of the First Amendment
Wick, please,
overrules any FCC laws.
Wick,
free
does the
speech.
FCC... Wait,
Quibbles,
that's not true.
billions of
That,
dollars.
hold on.
Quibbles.
That is absolutely true.
That is not true.
Oh,
Guys,
you think the FCC can
Wait!
violate the
You guys-
Constitution?
Does the FCC even subsidize ABC?
The thing I quoted to you, Wick,
Did you show me
shows that it goes against the First Amendment. The thing I quoted, the thing you agreed on,
No.
that would be First Amendment speech. You could lie, and it could cause public harm. That would be First Amendment protected speech. That's still an FCC violation. So
That's
no,
never
the First
been
Amendment
enforced
is
in
not-
decades.
It's been enforced a lot.
Hold on,
it has
name
been
one
enforced,
time
and
this
it's on
hoax
the
law has been
books.
enforced.
Let
Please,
Soy
Wick.
talk.
Does the FCC even subsidize these people, or is that just something you pulled out of your ass? Because I just believed you. I don't even think
The
they give them
FCC
any
doesn't
money.
subsidize the American
Yes,
taxpayer.
the FCC isn't directly subsidizing. What it is that
No,
there's
Congress
these
apportions
airwaves-
money to subsidize them.
No,
What's the difference?
it's not a direct subsidy. I'm saying
Yeah, they have
subsidy is a
control
shorthand
over the
that's
public
slightly
airways,
sloppy.
and they lease that
I'm
out.
saying-
That's
yeah,
not a
I'm saying-
subsidy.
I'm saying subsidy is slightly the shorthand. It's a little bit sloppy. You are correct.
Holy shit! I can't believe I let you get away with that for 2 fucking hours. They don't even give them money.
Let
You
me
stupid
explain
retard.
what I mean. Okay, let me explain what I mean. Like I'm explaining
Holy
it.
shit! I can't
employee
believe I
discount.
just assumed you were
Good.
being good.
I'm
You
going
don't
to
even know what the
explain it
fuck
to
you're
you.
talking about,
I'm
dude.
going to use my simple words and my simple speech, and I'm
No,
going to
I don't
look
want to let
at
you talk.
That
You've been
word
lying
means
for 2
something.
hours. They
That
don't
word
even
literally
fucking
means something.
subsidize them.
Here's what I mean when I mean that it's a subsidy.
Yeah, they
Okay.
lease out the broadcasting airways, which I knew about the whole time.
They
I thought that
lease
they
it.
gave them
Yes.
$15
They
billion.
lease
They
it
don't even
out.
fucking do that. You've just been wrong this whole time.
Okay.
Like the other
You're gonna
6
be
things
okay.
you didn't
You're gonna
fucking
be okay.
understand, and I've been good faith to you, and you're like, well, shut up, wait, let me explain
gonna
this
be
thing I don't
okay.
even fucking understand. For 2 hours!
You're gonna be okay.
You wasted my time!
Okay. When I say
I like
subsidy, what I mean is that the lease is at below market rate. So market rate, the concept of market rate is
There's no
that
market rate
this is
for
getting
public
this is getting-
airwaves!
There is.
It's owned by
If
the
you allow-
government!
if
You stupid fucking
there
moron!
there is such thing. There is such thing as market rate. I will explain. You'll be okay. Okay. Market rate would be if you allowed anyone who wants to bid on it. And then the person who bids on it and has the highest bid gets it, right? That would be market rate. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is a subsidy in kind, which is what I've been saying. And a subsidy in kind is where you have a set price, which is below the market rate. And so the amount of money that is different between the price that ABC is paying and the market rate, that is a subsidy. Okay? We call that a subsidy if we're not for. There we
Okay,
go.
here's a problem,
You understand
Quibbles. Here's a problem. Is this market rate
No,
you're
so-
talking
so-
about?
so-
Soy Pill, you're muted. You're muted if you're trying to
Soy
talk.
Pill,
If you're trying to
No,
rant it
Soy
out,
is talking to
you're
his
muted.
audience.
So he's talking to his
Oh,
audience.
Okay,
Okay.
excuse me. I was
Audience.
trying to yell at Quibbles for being a retard. Okay, you understand that
Oh, no, no,
public
yeah,
broadcasting bandwidth is a zero-sum game. You cannot let everyone have access to it.
Right.
You have to have
But
the
you can
government
have- okay.
lease it out. There is no market rate.
Rick,
They're
let's talk
selling
about a
licensing
house.
to people. They don't fucking
Okay.
subsidize
Yes,
them
I
with
get it.
billions
I get
of
it.
dollars
Let's
so
talk
that they
about
can
a
spread
house.
propaganda. You stupid fucking
Rick, let's
dipshit.
talk
You have
about a
no
house.
idea what you're talking about, and I let you get away
Rick,
with it because I
Rick,
thought maybe you
let's
had a
talk about a
modicum of
house.
understanding. I didn't even bother
Let's
to
talk
Google
about a
it.
house. Okay, there's a house for sale, Wick. Okay, there's 2 ways that I can make this house for sale. Are you ready? One is I put it on Zillow, and anyone who wants to buy the house can buy the house. That's one way to buy the house. The other way to buy the house is I call up my cousin who needs a house and I say, hey, bud, you want to buy this multi-million-dollar mansion? And this multi-million-dollar mansion, I'm going to make you pay $50,000 for it because, you've fallen on hard times and I'm fucking loaded, right? And I say this, and then he says, yes, actually, I will buy your house for $50,000. Click, right? Do you think that that is the same as buying it from Zillow? Or do you think there might be a subsidy going on there?
Do you think that any private company can sell public airwaves that are owned by the government?
They are owned by the government. I think that you could allow to have a public, right, bidding war on them, and then they would be the value of the airwaves. When there's not a public bidding war on the airwaves, you are getting a subsidy.
What is the value of an airwave?
In the case of ABC and CBS, a lot.
Why?
Name the frequency here. I'm not listening.
Why? Because there's a long history.
He said, "What's the value?" You said a lot.
A lot. We don't know the exact number. The reason we don't know the exact number is because there hasn't been
it could be less than what the FCC or not the FCC.
No,
I'm sorry.
it
could be less than what ABC is paying for.
Then Disney wouldn't be willing to pay what they're paying. So obviously it's worth more. We just don't know exactly how much more.
So it could be $1 more.
You know how we know it's just
it could be 50 cents more.
No, it's more than 50 cents more. It is considerably more than 50 cents. We know that it's more than 50 cents because we can see the comparative number of viewership of those three channels specifically versus identical content on other channels. So clearly those channels are worth considerably more, right?
Okay, let's compare Fox News viewership to Jimmy Kimmel's viewership in the same time slot. Who gets more?
You can't do that. You got to do the aggregate of the two networks writ large, and you got to do specific. Hold
on, because Disney, for example, owns a whole lot of services other than just
cable. They can do whatever the fuck they want with cable. There's nothing that they're doing.
Okay, but what I'm asking you is, who do you think gets more viewership?
Or in terms of Disney Plus,
ABC or Fox News?
You're asking the best, the highest rated of all cable networks versus ABC.
Well, you're the one that's saying we got to look at the viewership to see how much it's worth. Okay, so it's worth less than.
I'm sorry. Wait, do you think that it is a benefit to be on Fox News?
Huh?
Do you think it is a benefit to be on Fox News?
Well, it depends on how you're featured. I don't think it was a benefit to Destiny to be featured on Fox News with his statement.
A primetime slot to do your show is a benefit to be on Fox News.
Sure, why not?
Okay, wait, hold up, that's crazy! Because we can look at Spotify, we can look at Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan gets more viewership. So even though Joe Rogan gets more viewership, we can recognize that clearly what you just said is totally reasonable and valid because the same content on Fox News is going to do better than the same content not on Fox News, even if Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan are doing really well.
Disney pays approximately
$4 YouTube is not as
in licensing.
A year?
I'm sorry?
So for every year, it's about $4 billion in licensing.
That's a lot of money. I don't think
that is a lot of money.
I think that they could honestly probably make more money, right? Just by going to streaming services.
They actually charge. So with all the distribution, streaming and everything else, they end up netting like a $4 billion profit with the licensing and stuff for the content that they sell to other services and shit like that. So
okay, gang, this has been 2 hours. Let's get to closing statements and closing thoughts. Let's start with Quibbles, and we'll end with Soy Pill, because I like that dynamic. Okay, Quibbles, closing thoughts. Tell people where they can find you.
Okay.
Just you're keeping us as separate as possible, is what I hear.
Yes.
Exactly. You have to have like a giant barrier between. Exactly. Okay. My closing statement is this. Mob boss shit has been a thing on the left and a thing on the right for a long time. It's a problem. I don't like it. 2, subsidies are a thing only for the left these days, and that's a big problem. And to get rid of the subsidies, okay, you need to either get billions of dollars that are currently owned by Disney, getting this giant subsidy. It's going to fuck over Disney somewhat, and Disney's going to complain, and the hosts on Disney are going to complain. But it's not actually a speech issue. There are parts of their speech issues. Certainly, all the shit that is being said about like, oh, let's just like yes, there is all of that is real, but also part of it is not real. Part of it is molding from people who have been experiencing billions of dollars of subsidies for decades and do not deserve them any longer. I rest my case. Yes.
Okay. Confluence.
Yeah, I think we got into the weeds with Kimmel for like the majority of the time, which is fine. Wick was asking everybody. I didn't get a chance to say this. I do actually, maybe to the shock of the panel, I do think Trump actually does say stuff that is a threat against free speech. I mean, I think his Truth Social post about that even the Constitution can be overruled, I think was incredibly concerning. But I think the FCC is a regulatory body, and if the FCC is going to investigate, they're going to investigate, and I think that's fine. I think people should absolutely be fired for their celebration of Charlie Kirk's death, which I think was our original topic. I don't see this as cancel culture. I think it is far beyond the Overton window, and I wish we kind of talked about that more, but yeah, that's my stance. I think people should face consequences for what they did. Kimmel, what he did was relatively mild, and that's why I think we got into the weeds on like the FCC and the regulatory stuff, but I think for the other people who are celebrating it, I think we should collate lists and we should absolutely do a mob and we should go after them because I think they have far left the Overton window and there needs to be repercussions.
Mob justice.
Inshallah.
Famously without problems and famously solving the issues of the day.
Exactly.
Aircraft Sparky, go ahead.
I love pitchforks and torches. I think they're based in fun, but in all reality, the people celebrating the national tragedy of political assassination, I don't care who's killed, that should have some type of consequences at a social level, losing a job, things like that. I don't see people should be arrested for it necessarily, unless they're actually trying to incite violence or they're actually, pulling a trigger or something like that. When it comes to the whole Kimmel thing, I'm unconvinced that the government has actually caused him to lose 3 days of broadcasting. I believe it was more of the affiliates and the advertisers. I see no evidence showing besides the things Trump said, which look, I'll sit there and go, yeah, Orange Man bad there. Sure, you should be saying that's kind of fucking stupid. But it's also something that we've been seeing escalating throughout the years, throughout my entire life. The federal government does not believe that you have freedom of speech. Actually, most Americans don't believe you have freedom of speech because we used to have blasphemy laws. We used to have all kinds of insane laws on speech. But I would like to see, more protections of speech for the people. But I just don't see it, especially in our hyper partisan divided politics. Wish we could come together, be a little bit more moderate, and be a little bit more agreeable. Thank you to all my panelists. Especially Soy Pill and Logix. Actually, the calm people, normally the lefties like to spurg. Bro, Quibbles, my man, take a pill.
Are you calling me calm on this panel, dude? That was the most bad I think I've ever fucking.
Comparatively speaking, brother, you were quite calm. Quibbles needs to take his blood pressure. I think he's about to pop an aneurysm. Poor guy.
Well, thank you for being here. Illogics, please.
Once again, thank you, Wick. This was fun. I feel like we missed a lot of time, about an hour arguing about something that really wasn't a thing. So that's a little disappointing, but nonetheless, I think everybody came with a perspective that was fun to engage with. Again, I think that once we're at the point that we allow the president to dictate what the FCC does to then dictate what these companies can say on television, I think we have a problem. And any way to try to skirt around that is a problem, especially if it's not in regards to the public health. People want to keep saying, oh, this is what happened with Facebook and whatnot, when this is just simply about, I don't like you, so shut up. I think that we should all be on one page about that. It's nothing American about it. It's nothing defensible about it, no matter who the president is, no matter where you fall politically. In regards to firings for Charlie Kirk jokes and whatnot, I do understand that jobs can fire you for whatever reason that they can. That's legal. If you do put yourself out there, you are susceptible to to being fired, but I don't know why people will form hate mobs. You know, we had people make an entire website dedicated with doxing people to get them fired over Charlie Kirk jokes, and I think that's reprehensible behavior. It's not that serious. If you know somebody on there and you don't like them, just handle it on your own. Just doxing people is absurd. So if you defend any of these things, I think it's highly un-American.
Okay, thank you for being here. Last but not least, and we're not ending. I got super chats to read. They can stay if they like, and maybe we'll do call-ins. I don't know, but they can leave after this if they need. Soy Pill, give us your closing.
Yeah, obviously the main topic of the panel of whether or not like you should, dox people. I don't agree with this. I don't think people should. But if your employer finds out you said some really heinous shit, as much as I don't agree with like forming these hate mobs, at that point you might want to consider that what you put online might come into your workplace and they're going to fire you. But the more important thing is that Donald Trump is threatening to revoke licenses because people are being mean to him. I think that's fucking insane. This is clearly laid out in Project 2025. I think everyone needs to be sounding the alarm bells. Quibbles, I don't know why you're saying that subsidies are only for the left. We talked about AM radio, the fact that you misrepresented what even is a subsidy because we are looking at the zero-sum game of a publicly owned airwave and saying, hey, here's a license to be able to broadcast on it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Trump administration is not, saying, oh, I think this is, skewed one way or the other, is literally threatening to take away the ability to broadcast because he doesn't like what they're saying. This is a very scary fucking crackdown. And even if it was just because of a government subsidy like NPR, which was government funded, it's fine. They're objectively describing what the fuck is happening and maybe slant a little left, but that's because reality has left-wing bias. Sorry, guys. So if you don't want to get criticized and talked about, maybe stop being a fucking fascist piece of shit. Thanks for being here, everyone. I had a great time.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it. $5. $5 from Moto to say, ask all of them if they think Tucker Carlson should have been pulled from the air for the exact justification they're defending the attack on Kimmel.
That's Tucker Carlson was pulled off the air because he lied about the election, and they improved his intent to lie with text messages where he said, "I know this is bullshit, but I'm still gonna say it," and spread and helped incite a fucking mob, which Jason here took part of, but luckily didn't go in because he actually was very kind in this debate. I can only assume because he just kept waving people in and was like, no, you first, and he just never had time to get in. So thank you, Jason, for not participating in that. You didn't need a pardon. But that is so much different than taking the worst possible interpretation of Jimmy Kimmel's statement, which is, like I said, possible that he was like lying and misrepresenting it, but also that he was just like doing what was objectively true, which is saying MAGA is trying to push this on everyone that's not them, which is what they did before they had any information. Although to be fair, why would a MAGA person shoot Charlie Kirk? Though
I do think what Tucker did was worse than what Kimmel did by a long shot.
$20.
He also cost them $700 million or something. It was like a crazy, huge lawsuit.
Yeah, and it also wasn't
like if you cost your company,
they had every right.
It was a civil suit, to be clear, not the government. $20 from the pleb to say, ask the right panelists why they keep ignoring the fact that if this is only about what Kimmel said, that Trump is now saying he just doesn't like Kimmel because he says mean things about God King Trump.
Or the fact that he said Kimmel's next 2 months ago.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I said this in my closing. I think Trump says a lot of stuff that's anti-free speech. I mean, I'll own that as someone on the right. Like, I think Trump is a wild card, and he says concerning things.
If Carr says we got Kimmel fired, and Trump says we got Kimmel fired, why are you fighting me that they got Kimmel fired?
The difference is that I think, first of all, the syndicates I think is a huge role on why Kimmel was temporarily removed.
Okay, you're not answering my question. I'm just going to ask it again. If Trump says we got Kimmel fired, if Carr said we got Kimmel fired,
your fucking question.
Then why are we trying to pretend that they didn't get Kimmel fired? They're both saying that they did.
Brother, I feel like I was answering your question. I don't think he was fired temporarily for a couple days because of the FCC thing. I think possibly it has to do with the syndicates. I think you could acknowledge that. I mean, there's a lot of pressure internally from ABC to let him go. I think the FCC did put pressure on him. But again, I would say that's an FCC violation. That's an FCC issue that they were within their rights to look into and to tell ABC that they're going to look into. The Trump stuff is a separate thing. Why can't I do that?
Because there was no actual violation, and it was obvious there was no violation.
That's not. I quoted the violation.
Okay,
to
no,
you.
you quoted it, and you didn't
we can disagree on
substantiate
that?
public harm as defined in the
You Wick, and this is maybe you know something I don't. You define public harm as causing like damage to property and stuff.
Okay.
Well,
it's
I don't know
in
if
the
that's
rule.
something-
Hold on, let me bring it up because I think
Okay,
you need
yeah,
it.
let me
Like
see
it says after the three things it lists, it says in the context of this, what we mean by public harm, and it gives a definition of what they mean by public harm, and that's the definition I'm giving you.
I guess I would love to see that. I haven't seen that. I'm being good faith here. I
know
anything
because you
that
guys all look at these Twitter posts and you don't look at the actual
I
source.
went to the FCC fucking website, Wick. Don't fucking sell me short like that, brother. I went to their fucking website.
Well, Confluence, I think the point here is that you might even, let's just say this was explicit. Let's say Jimmy Kimmel said, this guy was MAGA. It was like he just lied, right? And the FCC came after him for that. I think what you're kind of missing, this is. Let me borrow from Quibbles here. We need to zoom out a little bit. The fact that 8 to 12 months ago, Brandon Carr wrote, "I am going to do this," and essentially lay out, "I'm going to do what I can to coerce these people to be less of what they are" in Project 2025.
I know you
kind
see
of
that
means
as
that, like,
you see that as
going to
so-
squeeze and
let me-
take
let me
anything.
respond.
Wait,
Let me
wait.
respond. Let me respond to
Has
Soy
that
Pill.
not been what Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and a
No,
bunch
I
of
don't
people on the
think,
left
I
been
don't think
saying
those
as
things are
well?
even remotely comparable.
Have they not been saying identical
No,
shit?
but okay, Soy Pill. I guess
They
my
didn't say they're
contention.
going to break up Facebook
Let me
for
freaking
precisely the
talk,
issues
Quibbles.
of Facebook speech.
I think what I understand your point that maybe there's like a motivation going on, but I guess my concern is it an FCC violation or is it not? He could be ideologically captured.
Click on my stream.
To me, that means nothing. I want to know, is it an
Hold on,
FCC
just
violation?
we can clear this up. Click on my stream right now. I have it up. This is from FCC.gov, pretty official source, right? On broadcasting false information. Okay, the FCC and the highlighted portion is the relevant portion. FCC rules specifically say that the public harm must begin immediately and cause direct and actual damage to property or to the health or safety of the general public, or it has to divert law enforcement to other
Wick,
public health and safety
to be
authorities.
clear, not what you fucking said.
Yeah, that
You
is
were saying
exactly
that is
verbatim
not
what I
you
said.
You said property damage. You said, show me the property damage.
Yes.
The safety, I think it has caused the safety of
Okay,
the general
the harm has to
public.
begin immediately. What is
A
the
bunch of
direct
people
and
have, like,
actual
canceled
harm?
Events.
Hold
A
on, what
bunch
is the
of people
direct and
are
actual
worried about their
harm?
lives.
It has to begin immediately. Who got hurt?
It says safety.
Okay, who got hurt?
It doesn't say someone has to be hurt. It says, does it cause direct and actual damage to the safety? And yes, it has damaged the safety of people on the right.
Wow.
It doesn't say it has to.
You're
result in
insane.
the
Like,
death
if
of
you're,
someone.
this is the most bad faith reading of this thing.
Like,
How is that bad faith?
No,
It-
come on, that's
Safety
that is a
was
fair point.
ruined.
That is a fair point. Come on.
No, it
He
is
is right
not a
there.
fair point that the safety, it
wait,
has to be
who's
direct
fair?
and
You're saying
actual.
Confluence is being fair?
No, yeah, Confluence is absolutely being
No,
is accurate.
what it,
Of course
when
it's
it says direct and
Just because someone doesn't
actual,
literally,
it doesn't mean
just
this
because
thing
someone
that I
doesn't
can just
literally
pretend
end up
like,
dead
oh,
as
now
a
we're
result-
unsafe.
What happened?
Now we're unsafe
just because
because
someone doesn't
Kimmel
literally
said
die
a
as
few
a result of
words
this
on a
event.
late night joke show. If you believe that, we can't have a conversation. You're just
Okay.
nuts.
Yeah,
You're
like
certifiable.
if Jimmy Kimmel had said this should have
doesn't mean
happened
you're not
sooner and someone
ratcheting
needs to
up
go
tension.
after his wife and children, I would agree. This is definitely going after their safety. But he's saying MAGA tried to push this on everyone, but then how
everyone
is that
else.
at all making them unsafe?
Public harm must be immediately and cause direct and actual damage to property or the health and safety of the general public. I think it is fair to say that it is bad for the general public. It is bad for the health and safety of the general public if people are forced to cancel public speech.
No, the
Oh,
harm
you
has to be direct,
got-
actual, and
That
immediate.
does feel reasonable.
Direct, actual, and immediate. No one got hurt.
Yes.
So if he said
It doesn't say
tornado,
someone has to get hurt. It talks
Yes,
about the
because it has to
Doesn't
begin
say that.
immediately.
What do you think the word safety means, Wick?
Yeah.
In the context of this rule, it obviously means that they're made like to be under physical threat, right? Physical life
That's why
limb.
they canceled their speeches.
Yeah,
Anything like
that's why a bunch
No,
of people
this
have
is
canceled
insane.
their
Who
stuff.
canceled their speech because of what Kimmel said? Who the fuck
Wait,
canceled their
between
appearance
two of y'all,
because
we
of
should
what
get one.
Jimmy Kimmel said?
Wait, I could be wrong. I think didn't Tim Pool cancel his whole thing
because of what Kimmel said?
Wasn't that after what happened to Charlie? People was
I'm sorry.
Wait.
I mean, it's all part of the same thing,
Charlie,
though.
because of concern of their safety. There's no
you can't. Yeah, you can't point this specifically at Kimmel, but it's like it's a whole. It's
okay, but it is specifically about Kimmel. It has to be specifically about Kimmel. You have to be able to draw a direct causal line between Kimmel and what he said and them canceling their shows.
I don't see that in the FCC rules.
Ratcheting tensions.
Oh my God. What do you think direct means?
No way. No way.
Yeah, it's direct.
To be clear, guys, I forgot about this. Someone reminded me, and thank you. This was Logix. Andrew reminded me. The reason this rule exists is because of the War of the Worlds broadcast.
Yes.
They're like, hey, we're fucking under attack. Everyone panic and go to your houses, and this is so horrible. Not, hey, I said a thing that someone could interpret as...
Who died? Who died from the War of the Worlds?
People like were getting in car crashes and like, snatching.
Yeah, there was direct property damage. There was direct...
This was like people were getting directly harmed.
Well, I guess I want to see evidence that people were like
okay,
killed.
Yes, people got hurt during the World War hoax. That's why it became a problem.
So, here. I'll dumb it down. It's shouting fire in a crowded theater.
Okay,
it's the same thing.
Hold on. Oh my God, you're triggering me. You can shout fire in crowded.
Yeah, you're triggering me there too. That's also ridiculous.
You can absolutely shout fire in a crowded theater. That's not illegal.
You can, but if there is no threat and it's a call to action, that's why they use that one, man. It's considered a call to action. That's why that phrase exists.
Okay, but Jason, that's completely different because obviously, like your ability
causing
to
a panic over the airwaves.
You have a right
is the
to
exact
say
same
more
thing as
things.
causing a panic in an enclosed area.
Okay, I got more super chats. Okay, $20 from Lawson Harrison to say, Wick, have some well-lit money. You are now a publicly funded entity. Well, thank you for the $20. Tier 2 membership from HLock12. Like the stream, people. Yes, like the stream. Do we not give you the best content? $20 from the devil. Ooh. If MAGA goofballs are going to lean on the implication when it comes to Kimmel's speech, then Trump's speech on January 6th is fair game.
It is fair game.
Yes, it is.
Talk about that. It's fair game. I'm consistent.
Well, yeah, but it has nothing to do with the FCC revoking a license for Trump to be able to talk. It
doesn't. It's a different issue. I'm just saying I'd be happy to talk about that too.
Okay. $5 from Gelatinous
ultimately pro-Trump.
Conservatives losing at 4th and 1 again. Quit being losers. Support your local extremists. Support WIC 2. Put the Google execs in prison. $5 from Alexander Wren to say, could this have something to do...
But to be clear, he just paid Google to say that.
Yeah.
Based, I think.
could this have something... From Alexander Wren, $5. Could this have something to do with the right wanting to privatize while the left wanting to fund things? The right doesn't compete, they destroy. $10 from Lawson Harrison.
Yeah, I don't think funding propaganda is the same as funding healthcare. What are we talking about?
Okay.
Those aren't the same.
$10 from Lawson Harrison to say, I realized how many times a bartender has told the bouncer to kill me. I don't know.
Not sure what that means.
Yeah. Okay. $5 from Alexander Wren to say 8646 equal threat to the president. Hang Mike Pence equal peace be with you. Bigger. 1776 signs equals brotherly love for country. Got it. $2 from potentially criminal to say you have to be advocating for imminent disorder. And then see also Hess versus Indiana in 1973. Deej Nuts for $5 to say Trump is the greatest free speech activist. He knows the left will react reflexively to protect free speech if he threatens it. 100 million D chess. $10 from Alexander Wren to say, would it be Indy if Comey had said this? 8646, fight like hell. He's going to take away your country. March up to the White House and protest like you've never protested before, peacefully. And then
you got
finally,
some retards in your chat, Wick.
$5. No one who pays me is retarded. Everyone's
to be clear,
beautiful man.
If Trump had just done that, I don't think anyone on the left would have a problem with that. It's the fact that he lied about the election and said, actually, if you don't do this, you won't have a country anymore. It's the only option for you. And in the same way that he's doing right now, saying, hey, I think they should just take their revenge for the Charlie thing at the ballot box. But the ballot boxes are rigged, by the way. So, where else are you going to take your revenge? I don't know.
I actually agree with Soy Pill on that. I just
$5 from Alexander Wren to say we used to have blasphemy laws because the 14th Amendment applied the first to states and rendered them unconstitutional. So we do have free speech. Thank you for the $5. Okay, gang, this has been a show. Been a show. That's about what I can say about it. Okay, what do we got coming up? So tomorrow, at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be talking with Eucharist. I'll be talking with Not So Erudite, and I'll be talking with Polymath about how we can heal this divided nation. Okay, how can the right and the left stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other as
Whores are
fellow
the answer.
Americans? Okay. And we'll find out
Wick,
tomorrow.
I
what
hope
the
you bring
answer
up the fact that Jason and I are friends on Discord now. So
Oh,
bridge
Also,
builds,
healing
Logix,
the
man.
divide.
Logix, let's
Heal.
go.
Reaching across the aisle. Wow.
Hells
Amazing.
yeah.
Okay, $10 from Alexander Rin to say my point is that peacefully is a magic word that eliminates all implied violence. Just want to see if you can be consistent. Thank you for the $10. Okay. I'm done. Anyone else got anything?
Thanks,
Yeah,
Wick.
I am
Bye.
curious how Logix and Soy think they still haven't answered this. How you would want to get rid of the massive
I
subsidy?
literally answered.
I don't
First of all, I
think- I
don't
said
want
I
to get
don't- it's
rid
not
of
a
them.
problem
And
to me.
second of all, I said if you really had a problem with it, you could try to, through legislation, reinstitute the fairness doctrine and say, okay, you need to provide equal airtime. There's 1,000 ways you
Okay,
could do
so
this if you were good faith.
is it-
Like I think you
Yeah.
are interpreting this in the most egregious, delusional way.
We talked about
Okay, so
Kimmel
to be
way
clear,
too
I think
much,
there-
okay?
to
We
be crystal
wasted
clear,
time
to be
talking about
crystal clear,
fucking
I am
Kimmel.
not
There's so many
with
other
Jason.
topics to talk
I'm not
about.
with Jason.
Fucking
I'm not at
hell.
all with Jason on any of this. Like Jason
Yes,
seems
you're
to
making
think
the
that
MAGA guy
right
seem
isn't-
reasonable. I think it's fucking insane.
Okay, I'll tell
I
you
think
this.
the-
I'll just say this,
I
and
am not
then I'm going
saying
to
the
end.
MAGA guys are
I'm saying this, and then I'm
reasonable.
going to cut the
What are you
stream.
No, you're
I'm saying this,
making
and
him
I'm going
seem
to cut the
reasonable
stream.
because he's more agreeable for
I'm-
the past 2 hours.
I'm saying
than you
this,
are.
and then I'm going to cut the stream. That if you are part
Yeah,
of
you're
a
saying
group
rhetorically funny.
that is calling people's employers about stuff they said off the clock, you're a bad person. I love you all. Bye.